welcome to Film Phreeks. This is Justin Llewellyn.
And Eddie Williams.
And tonight we're going to be doing a special, epic, long retrospective of one of the most popular comic book iconic superheroes of all time. And to me, probably my favorite comic book.
It's my favorite superhero.
It's
my favorite.
And that we're going to be discussing is Batman. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be discussing all the films that we've seen, at least, of the live action films. And also some of the animated films and the various TV shows they've done based off.
I do want to say, forewarning, there's some, because the animated series is so big and 3 people have done their own takes on it. I have not seen all of them completely, so I can't really go in hardly any detail. Yeah. I do remember one that I kind of somewhat remember because I grew up watching it more, and that was the one I was telling you about.
Yeah, the animated series.
The
90s.
Yeah,
the
92
animated series.
And then there's going to be some history things that I didn't know about from way back in the 30s that I haven't seen, so I can't.
Yeah,
really,
so there's a lot of stuff we haven't seen, but I can help you out on some of the stuff I've seen too.
Yeah, but for overall, I think we're going to do pretty good. I'm just giving you guys a warning, heads up.
Yeah, we might be lost on some things, and there's been a lot of other animated films that have come out recently that we haven't seen, so we're sorry we can't talk about them. But we're going to talk about mainly the ones that have been released in theaters and the ones that you pretty much know about.
Yeah.
So. Before we get into the character of Batman, let's go back in time. Back in 1926, there was a film that came out called The Bat. It was a movie that starred a killer that was stalking its victims throughout this house because there was a party going on. And this killer actually dresses up like a bat, and the way that he uses a grappling hook and is able to basically scare his victims, he uses the actual bat signal that you would see later in the comic books.
Yeah.
And this film, believe it or not, also had a remake of its own back in 1930 called The Bat Whispers. And that film, it was directed by the same director, Roland West. That film was the direct inspiration for Bob Kane to actually create the character of Batman.
Yep.
And so then finally in 1939, the Detective Comics that DC was going by, Detective Comics, that's when Batman got his first appearance in 1939. And that's
inspiration from those two shorts.
Based on it and everything. So that first comic book that came out in 1939 was the official Batman comic.
Can't give a grade on stuff we haven't seen, so we
can't really judge it. But we just want to go over that because that's what led into the comic books.
Yeah, I'll probably give it a watch sometime whenever I can and stuff. And again, I'm not much of a reader. I know a lot about comics, but at the same time, I'm not the type of guy you'd recommend or ask me when it comes to knowing the issues, the storylines. I know somewhat. Generalization, but I remember growing up going to a comic book store.
Oh yeah,
all
definitely.
The DC comics out, Marvel, all them.
Yeah, and there were some. There was actually one that I actually own that I have called The World's Finest comic. It shows Batman and Superman actually going up against each other, because they're brainwashed by this mummy type villain.
Wasn't there that other thing that you were telling me about,
we'll get into that later. But basically, Batman got his first official appearance in this serial that came out in the 40s, just called Batman. And this one was, to describe it, back in the 40s, they had these things, these like shorts that they played before movies.
Yeah.
Before you went to go watch a movie in the theater, they were called serials. They did this with Superman and also for Flash Gordon and stuff. Basically, what it is, it's like a 30 or 40 minute short that plays before the actual movie, and it always ends on a cliffhanger. It was divided up in like different episodes to make it seem like it's an actual movie.
Yeah. So it shows you how much I know because it wasn't until the Adam West.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that.
And I knew the comics, of course.
Yeah, but those movies were where we see Batman in his first true mainstream appearance.
Yeah.
Or first true appearance. And back then, it was a lot different because back then in those serials that they did, Batman was actually driving an actual car. He didn't have a Batmobile.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until the comics later on they started to actually... Yeah.
Like the vehicles they used in Dick Tracy back in those times. He
was actually driving an actual car. So back then, those were different times. And then
they were still writing. They didn't have half the villains.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, these were all just stock villains back then.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until later on they started to incorporate stuff in the comics where you see Batman with the gadgets, Batmobile and stuff, and introducing the actual villains.
Yeah.
And that's where we go into the series that actually got us into the mainstream of Batman, which was the Adam West TV series that came out in 1966.
Yep.
That is the show that I remember growing up with the most. That basically got me introduced to the character of Batman.
And for you that don't know, it was more more campy for kids.
Yeah, it was
very campy.
It was very like comedy-esque, but it was supposed to resemble like an actual comic book.
And it did, with the bam, 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 and you see the punches, and then you see like the actually comic book opening.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So this show, I can honestly say, after growing up with it, it was it was
I
a
thought
lot of fun.
Ed West was great, and Burt Ward. And here's a little kind of a cool fact. I actually met some of the villains.
Yeah, you did. You actually met Cesar Romero.
Yeah. Met Cesar Romero,
Frank Gorshin,
and
Burgess Meredith, the Penguin. Did you meet?
I think it was the Penguin. Keep in mind, I was really little, and I still have vivid memory. I still have a lot of their autographs still, but yeah, I gotta go back. I know I met the Joker, and I know I met Riddler. Yeah, I met the Riddler. Penguin. I didn't meet the Penguin. No.
Okay, so it was just them two.
Yeah, it was just them two. Yeah.
And because you were at this like diner one day, and they actually came.
Well, one of them has actually got a lot of family from here.
Oh, really?
Or around our area.
Okay.
I think it was Caesar. He had somebody, and he came through here. And Emmy's was a restaurant here that was really well known. If you toured here, it was highly recommended, and it was a German restaurant. The owner my mom was close to was actually from Germany. She survived the Holocaust and everything.
Oh, wow.
So she had an authentic German restaurant. Caesar would always come buy her high-end wines when he was around here. And,
that's cool.
Yeah, and then I was able to meet him.
Yeah. That's really cool, man. But
I actually grew up on this.
That's what I'm saying.
On the campiness, and you know what? It might not be like up par with Tim Burton and Nolan and a lot of stuff. I still thought it was a pretty cool.
It was good, and
campy.
they weren't there yet making Batman dark yet. So this was when they were just doing as a fun type of like
fun. And I thought everybody did performances.
Cesar Romero was a great Joker. He really captured
Cesar Romero
everything.
Was great. I think they all do.
All the villains are perfect. Like
the dude playing Penguin was perfect.
Yeah, that was Mickey from Rocky.
Yeah.
And you also had. And you also had, you got also appearances from future villains like Mr. Freeze. You also got Catwoman, who was actually played by 3 different actresses.
Yeah.
And that also leads into
They also have some cringy parts where he danced.
Where they made a parody of that on YouTube where he's doing the Batman
dance and stuff. And even the funny stuff that his little, like his Batmore and stuff. And then this is also the Batman that also introduced us where Robin like holy goblins Batman.
Yeah, he would always say a funny catchphrase.
Yeah,
and also what's funny is that this is also the film that got us, the TV series that got us into Batman as a detective. Because you remember the early days of the comics, Batman was always known as like a kind of a cop but dressed in like outfit.
Yeah, just
so the TV series is the only one that does this. That's so far in live action form, where he's like acting like an actual detective.
It was until like the later 80s, 90s where the comics started making it more monstrous, more horror, and then superhero, like he could be on par with Superman and all that. It wasn't until later in the years they started doing them.
But it showed that he was just a regular guy, though.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's cool that they still he was a regular guy just fighting crime.
And now with that, now that we're continuing on, I will say that for my thoughts on the show. I still think it's a pretty fun.
It is. It's
got a lot of funness to it.
I accept the fact that it's a campy show, but I've embraced it for so long over the years because
the show knows it's campy.
Yeah, it's self-aware. It actually knows that it's campy, and it actually doesn't take itself too seriously, and it makes you wanting more each time you watch it. Because I remember
Adam West, rest in peace. We did a thing about him.
Yeah, last year when he tragically passed away, we did a tribute to him last year.
Yeah,
which you're welcome to check out. But anyway, this also led to the show came from the TV series. I can't really judge all the episodes because I haven't fully watched it, but just overall,
I remember watching them all.
On a TV show, I'd probably give it like maybe probably a high compelling. grade on the Film Phreeks.
I'm just regular compelling grade on this. And you know what? Right before we start talking about the
actual
movie, it was actually pretty shocking that this only lasted a few seasons.
Mm-hmm. It was only around for because there were 2 seasons when it came out, and then they decided to make an actual movie. Then after the movie came out, they decided to do one more season, which brought in Catwoman because they were trying to change the times and stuff. So they wanted to appeal. I guess they wanted to appeal to like a more of a demographic. So they introduced Batgirl
Which, by the way, that ended up falling apart.
Yeah, so when its last season, I believe when it last season came out, the ratings fell through and they canceled the show.
They did. I remember looking up the history about it. It actually fell through. Back then, a lot of people didn't really like sticking to shows that long. Shows back in the day can only go for so many seasons. Yeah. That was it. It's not like today where you can get season 12, 13. Back then, things would only last. It's only sitcoms that lasted long.
Yeah. And then basically after the first 2 seasons, they brought in the actual movie just called Batman the Movie. Mm-hmm. And this is the one that I grew up with the most because, keep in mind, I've only seen like just a handful of episodes of the show. The movie I fondly remember because this one, they actually, because the movie was released the same year the show came out. Yeah. And basically you deal with the 4 core villains. You have Joker, Penguin, Riddler, and Catwoman teaming up together to cause mayhem and stuff, and it's up to Batman and Robin to stop them. And this film, it at its core, it's a really fun movie, but it's also a very hilarious one because in this film we see that we actually get to see Batman as Bruce Wayne in some parts, because there's actually parts where he's trying to fall in love with Catwoman, and he doesn't know that it's actually her.
Yeah, the shows, they didn't focus much on the Bruce Wayne aspect.
They focused me on the Batman and Robin aspect.
But here, in this one, they were able to make a movie, so you get your typical James Bond look-alike Bruce Wayne.
Where he's got very suave.
And speaking of James Bond, didn't you kind of feel like this campiness in this kind of remind you of the campy James Bondish that we got?
The Sean
Connery,
Jaws
and all that.
Yeah, the Roger
Moore and all that.
Yeah.
Just the look of it. And it's something like, what do you call it? Austin Powers trying to capture that.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is that this is also the one that became the joke because there's a part where Batman's trying to locate these bombs and stuff, and there's actually he's carrying a live bomb, and he has to throw in the water. Yeah. He's like, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
Yeah. You could think that maybe Shane Black's dad wrote it or something. Got his inspiration or something.
Yeah, but there's also a funny part where they're hanging off of a helicopter.
Yeah, I remember
shark.
Yeah, the shark.
That looks so fake
gets
looking.
On the leg. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
But overall, man, this movie it's a blast.
It is a blast, and you got respect for nostalgia, right?
Yeah.
It's camp.
Yeah, but it's still a lot of fun. So
it's still fun.
With that, I give this one just kind of I'm more compelling grade.
I'm going with another compelling grade.
Yeah, it's still fun, but it's not as iconic or great as some of the later ones, but it's still good.
Yep.
So after the Batman TV series ended, we got Adam West, who became pretty much as a typecast as Batman because he actually held it as his iconic role. He would later join in different various forms of Batman in later cartoon shows. One of them they did, I can't remember the name of it, but him and Burt Ward, I think, came back together for a couple other cartoon shows in the 60s.
Well, I know that they did a lot of Comic-Con-ish type stuff.
They went to a lot of events and things like that, and he would often wear the actual suit.
Yeah.
And basically, there were some other shows that came out in the 70s in the cartoons that they did that had Adam West come back. There was actually a Scooby-Doo episode I watched that actually incorporated Batman and Robin in it. And it had
I remember that one.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one in a long time, though.
I remember that.
I remember it, though. They actually came together
and they were stopping the Joker and all them.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then basically the show that later got me interested in that came out was the Super Friends, because the Super Friends was the first time we got to see Batman, Superman, and all the Justice League members come together as a...
Yeah. This one I'm going to not know anything about.
This is the one that I remember just vaguely back in the day, growing up
Yeah.
on some episodes. This is the one where, if you know, called the Legion of Doom, where you had like Lex Luthor and all the other ones, like Solomon Grundy and all them. They all came together to go after the Justice League. And the ironic thing is,
this the first time they ever put together?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Which, by the way,
Super
not
Friends-
mentioned that the comics started doing that. And
Yeah,
and that's
because
when
Batman would later do crossovers with other DC characters.
and then they started the was Justice League already invented? And
no,
then
I,
they
I,
put
I,
Batman?
I don't know
I
the actual like where it took place, but I know
Yeah.
Batman came first. I think later when they did the Justice League comics, this was after Batman and Superman were already established.
Yeah, and I believe when Avengers doing it first, and then they kind of looked at them. I don't know. I don't know the
I'd have
history
to
of
look
that.
at that.
Yeah.
But basically, after Batman and Superman were already popular and everything, they decided to put them in like different comics with other characters. And so the Super Friends was the first one to bring all of them together.
Yeah.
And they also did a later one called The Challenge of Super Friends, which that's the one I finally remember more growing up with. And that one I think I remember that one having Joker actually in it.
Yeah.
Because Joker wasn't in the first one.
Yeah.
But anyway, after the cartoons and stuff came out, it was around the time in the like early 80s or no, mid 80s, they decided to take a more darker route with Batman, because before the comics really changed stuff, the early days of the comics showed that he was just more of a vigilante, superhero. The actual 80s is where it actually got darker, because
that's
there
when
was
they
actually
started making them mix with
in
others.
because there were actually later comic books where it showed Batman killing people and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of stuff. There's comics that even have him fighting Jason and Freddy.
That's what I'm saying.
And then him and Ash hanging out and doing stuff. I mean, the comics, if you guys are familiar with comics, they're a balls to a wall out there.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
And with the next one that came in 1986, Frank Miller, who is a known comic book artist, he did this graphic novel called The Dark Knight Returns, which was where that really brought Batman into the most mainstream darker roots. Because in this one, we see that an older Batman is basically an old Bruce Wayne is living in retirement, and he ends up coming out of retirement to do one last battle with to fight crime and stuff, like stopping Two-Face and all them. And this is also the first one we could see Batman going up against Superman. Mm-hmm. And this was the direct inspiration that we later see with Batman versus Superman.
Where you get back, the comics and eventually the movie,
Yes. And so with this one, this actually changed, because there's actually, this not the spoiler thing, but there is a part where Batman actually has to kill somebody. And they go into explicit detail with it. But based on this comic book that came out, it showed that Batman was a tremendous success, and they wanted to take a more darker direction. So that's when Tim Burton came in, because if you remember, Tim Burton had his early years with Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Beetlejuice. Warner Brothers, since they teamed up with DC to make future films after the success of Superman, they decided to take, based on the success of the comics of Batman, they wanted to risk it by changing the face of comic books forever. And that's when Tim Burton's Batman came out in 1989.
They wanted a live action one, a real actual motion picture.
Yes.
And the one probably in the comic back in the 60s was considered a motion picture at that day, but this is one that really sets it.
Yes, this is the one that changed the face of comic book movies forever, that brought Batman into the biggest mainstream that you're thinking of.
Yeah.
So with this one, we have Batman directed by Tim Burton and stars Michael Keaton in the role of Batman, and we also have Jack Nicholson as the Joker. And this actually sparked a lot of controversy, because much like Ben Affleck's casting for Batman vs Superman, Michael Keaton was actually was really
an 80s comedian.
Was an 80s comedian who didn't really like. A lot of people were fans of the comics were outraged to hear that he was cast for it.
Yeah.
Because they were sending a lot of hate mail to Warner Brothers at the time.
And while that controversy was going on, there was a controversy about making it dark.
Yeah, because we've never seen Batman like go this actual dark before.
Yeah.
And so, growing up, this movie, like, to me, holds as one of my all-time favorite comic book films.
I see it like this. Even with my parents, my parents were probably was about in their 20s, mid-20s in the 80s. And basically, if you were about 15 to 20 at the time, whenever in 89, and then everybody from our parents' age all the way down, even to this day, are some of the kids, this new generation's even liking it. It's pretty much been the one that's raised us all.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like the story deals back then. It was a simple story where you have Batman fighting crime and stuff, and you get the really gothic looking Gotham and stuff with the Art Deco look.
Oh, they did Gotham. They did great in that. It's like a more noir. Yeah, it's like a film noir. It's dark. It has a lot of smoke, and it looks slimy. Yeah, like New York would look.
Yeah,
and it kind of reminds me of the TV shows that we're going to talk about. The one I grew up in the 90s. Yeah, where it's all just dark.
Yeah,
and stuff.
We're very like noir, like kind of 50s or 30s, 40s looking, because that was going for. It was going for like kind of Metropolis kind of vibe.
Yeah, Metropolis. Yeah,
from 1927. Well, that's what Bat Returns looked more, but the first one looked more like Dick Tracy kind of.
Yeah,
if it was more, if it was more dark looking.
Yeah, very dark
looking.
Yeah, like Dick Tracy.
But basically, in this film, we deal with Batman, stopping crime and stuff, and then we also see that Jack Napier, the Joker, as he's known, that will become later. Jack Nicholson plays Jack Napier, who's this gangster, and he's trying to, he works under this guy named. Who's played by Jack Lemmon, or not? No, I'm sorry, Jack. What's his name?
Pleasance,
yeah. From City Slickers.
Yeah.
And not to go over the place. Basically, there's an event that happens to where Jack Napier wants to try to beat boss, and he calls shots because he realizes that later on when he ends up getting screwed because there's a setup taking place by his boss with the actual cops. Yeah. Because basically, Gotham City is crime-ridden to the point that the cops pretty much can't do anything, and so Batman pretty much goes out to fight crime and stop crimes and things.
This is the one that actually has Batman already been doing it for a while,
and the cops,
there's no build-up till later on.
Yeah, and he's basically considered he's actually considered a vigilante, and the cops want him arrested because they feel like
vigilante's a hero, so he's also wanted too. Because, he's taking crime in his own hands.
Yeah. And so there's a later event that happens to where there's a setup that takes place where Jack Napier, we're at the chemical factory where Jack Napier, he encounters Batman, and Batman, while he's fighting off his goons and stuff, Jack Napier tries to shoot Batman, and he ends up, the bullet ends up ricocheting when he tries to block it, and it ends up shooting him in the face, and he falls in the tank.
Yep.
And that's when we get the creation of Joker.
Yep.
And keep in mind, at the time this movie came out, they didn't really, in the comics, Joker didn't have an identity. Joker never had an identity before, so this was the first time we ever actually got to see an actual backstory with him.
Yeah, and then we get the backstory later on where he starts noticing that he looked familiar, and we get the backstory that Jack Napier, Joker, killed Batman's mom
parents, which was completely changed in the comics.
And I'll tell you right now, no one saw that coming because that was a nice change. You got to give Tim Burton that because that was fucking guts there.
Yeah, I know a lot of hardcore fans were outraged with that because in the comics, if you remember, Batman Begins did this later, Joe Chill was the original killer. Yeah. They changed it for the comics because it showed that basically Batman wanted revenge. Yeah. And so that's the reason why he turned to vigilantism because his parents died.
But anyways, we got, throughout the story, Jack Napier comes back,
as the
kills
Joker.
Jack Blessed. See? You can see his mask getting ready, walking right in there towards him.
He's like, Jack Napier's dead, but you can call me Joker. And as you see, I'm already happy.
Yeah, dude. Jack Nicholson nailed this
man. Yeah. He's the highlight. I mean, I love Michael Keaton, but he steals like every fucking scene.
I look forward to him and his little psychic goons, especially when they show up at the paint place.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that later. But anyway, you have him pretty much taking over as boss after he kills him, and you can see that the prosthetics they use for the fucking Joker, make it to where his actual face is like carved into and stuff because of the chemicals. Yeah. And basically the rest of the story deals where Bruce Wayne, played by Michael Keaton, is also encountering getting involved with Vicky Vale, the reporter who's trying to figure out who Batman is and stuff. And there's
Knox or whatever his name is.
Alex Knox and stuff like that. And we see that they're getting together, and he's trying to keep himself secret from her because he lives in this big ass fucking mansion where he has like all these like all these like items and stuff in his house and everything, and
statues that are worth millions.
And it plays it very subtle too because there's actually a part after he ends up sleeping for stuff. There's actually the next morning he ends up sleeping upside down like an actual bat. Which is cool. So I gotta tell you, Michael Keaton is he is tremendous as Bruce Wayne.
He's phenomenal.
He carries a lot of the playboy and the very the kind of funny at times, but also very charismatic Bruce Wayne that you would expect to see in this.
And he plays it very well, losing his mind when Joker keeps toying with him, and he finds out he killed his parents at the same time he finds out.
Yeah.
And, you see that part where, he's banging it. Come on, you want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts.
Yeah. But I'll get to that. But anyways, he plays off. Joker's suddenly taking over the city.
Yeah, because he wants to basically
chemicals.
Because he wants to get attention because he's jealous that Batman's getting all the attention.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a jealousy war between both of them.
So they're he's trying to take the spotlight. And then basically he starts to become involved with Vicky Vale on his own. So that's when we get to that scene with the fucking museum where Vicky Vale ends up going there and she ends up waiting for Bruce Wayne to come. And everyone gets gassed out from the chemicals or from the gas, and she's wearing the mask and stuff. That's when they get that really iconic scene where he comes in and we hear Prince's Party Man playing.
Oh my God, dude.
Party Man.
And you know what the funny thing is because I grew up on this one because I'm an '80s kid. My parents bought the record back when record players,
vinyl records,
and he got this. My dad got the soundtrack from it, that and the Prince CD, the soundtrack of the record player, and I used to play the Batman record player all the time.
Yeah.
Let's borrow mine, Lord. Oh, yeah.
The $1 bill.
And they're sitting there they're vandalizing this place with art.
Paint and stuff.
Yeah. And I will say, Tim Burton did good with the colors in this.
Oh, yeah. And
green and purple and the red.
And not to forget, the score by Danny Elfman, outstanding. This, to me, is one of my favorite fucking scores of all time.
Very damn. It's still liked and iconic. And believe it or not, this score is so good, they actually use it in the animated because it was so good.
Yeah, because Danny Elfman came back to do the score. Yeah. And basically, anyway, the rest of the story deals where after Batman takes Vicky Vale back to the Batcave, he starts to uncover more about Joker and stuff. Yeah. And throughout all these other scenes where we're getting these funny one-liners that Joker's doing where he's like, on TV. Like, where does he get those wonderful toys?
Oh, no, I like the part where he's on the TV where everybody starts
commercial.
Everybody's starting to have bad reactions to these chemicals, like he's making makeup out of Axis chemicals.
And he has these girls that are like having these faces.
Love that Joker. And then and he's sitting there with a shopping cart, kicking his legs up. I will say that he's my second favorite Joker, but he is the funniest Joker.
Yeah, he is.
I still have a blast with him. I still think that he's having a fucking blast.
Oh yeah, he was like, it was like Jack Torrance like combined with fucking Joker.
He's still like up there, almost tied my favorite. Yeah, but later on, then starts...
we basically get it all leads into where he discovers that Joker is actually the guy who killed his parents because
Jack Napier.
Because we have a flashback that takes place. Well, the lead up to this is that he goes to visit Vicky Vale as Bruce Wayne to try to tell her the truth that he's Batman. Well, that's when we get the scene we were talking about earlier where Joker actually comes there as himself and he talks to Bruce Wayne. He's like, "Come on, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts." And he gets shot. He's but the lead up to this is that he tells him, he says, "Tell me, my friend, you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?" Yeah. He's like, "What? I always."
That was all my prey.
I just like the sound of it. Never rip another man's rhubarb.
Oh man, he is. This just does not stop, man. And I grew up on this, and my parents loved this movie. It was iconic.
But this scene actually prompts later where Bruce Wayne is figuring out in the Batcave that he has a flashback when he was married as a child because that same line was spoken by the guy who killed his parents.
Yeah, his parents.
So he was putting the pieces together. Like,
and this is back whenever he was like, the killer was like in his 20s.
Yeah, but his guy was also telling him, saying his name. So he's like, "Jack, let's go.
Jack, let's go." Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll see you around.
See you around, kid. Yeah. And another mention I want to say is the guy that got to play Alfred was pretty good too. Michael. Oh,
classic.
I love him.
Yeah, he's a classic guy.
I mean, he's a little less on the kind of like advice kind of he still carries the wise.
He's actually played Butler.
Yeah,
he's quiet.
But he helps with the technology, but mainly in the next movie.
Second one, this one he's just like
he just kind of helps.
He's kind of a quiet guy Who just
But
says,
he still
"Are
respects,
you hungry?" You know.
Yeah, he still
He's there.
respects,
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne. He
Takes
looks
care
up
of
to him.
him, yeah.
But anyway, I liked him. And also, we have to mention this too, because this will come into later. Billy D. Williams was also playing the role of Harvey Dent, who, if you remember from the comics, he would later become Two-Face.
Yes.
And it's weird because this is the first time we ever see Harvey Dent in this film. But we'll get to it later. We don't ever see this same character in the Tim Burton movies.
No.
But anyway, we'll get to that later. But he was great. And then it all leads into the final big finale where we get Joker. He basically, there's a lead up to this where he's trying to get everyone to come to this parade where he's going to give out cash. And
oh wait, before you talk about that, I did like the part where they're at the courthouse. He sticks the dude with the feathers and
the pen is mighty in the sword.
And then he squirts the acid thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to you say he wants to throw this big massive parade, saying that he's going to throw millions of cash.
He's like, I'm going to give you cash just right out there. Just come here.
I like the part where the guy's sitting there talking at the city hall, and then Joker goes, pushes him out of the TV.
Yeah. He's like, Joker here. I have taken off my makeup. Let's see if you can take off yours. And mano a mano. And then we get to the parade where we see Joker. This is probably my favorite part with where they use Prince music. They use the song Trust.
And you got those like fucking floats and balloons.
And he's throwing out all the cash and he's dancing around.
And he's doing the weird dance. He's like pumping shit. Yeah.
And then we see that Batman gets to
he uses Batman.
He uses the bat plane
wing.
The bat wing to go after him and stuff, and then he ends up shooting down the balloons because the balloons inside have this gas that releases afterwards.
It was going to poison
everyone. And this shows here that when he does this, we get that most iconic scene where after he shoots the balloons down, we see that
he goes, no, because it's where Joker goes, where the hell did he get them damn toys at?
Where
he goes, Bob, gun.
He's like, I'm gonna need a moment. I'm gonna need a moment, boys.
Yeah, his partner. And then
that kind of was sad because I was like, oh man, that was his best friend too.
Yeah, I know. No, that's the fucking dude. If you remember, he played in that movie with Jonathan Taylor Thomas. The one where like they're the National Geographic guys. God, what's that movie? He's
Man of the House?
No, that's Man of the House. No, that was the one with Jonathan Taylor Thomas when they go out. And their National Geographic.
Oh, yeah. Wild America.
Wild America.
Yeah.
He's actually was in that.
That's right.
He was the uncle.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, and then basically we get that scene where he pulls this big-ass gun out of his pants.
Oh, God.
He's like...
It was a goddamn fucking revolver.
And it's long held.
It's like fucking 2 foot long.
And then he pulls it out.
I did like that because it's Joker.
Yeah, and then he pulls it out.
You know what? Tim Burton wrote this right. He wrote this character right. Not only is he evil and will kill you in a sadistic way.
Yeah.
But he's fucking hilarious.
He is, yeah. He's the crazy but insane, but also...
He likes to be...
He's a gangster Joker, too. But also, he pulls it out, and then he's like, come on, you son of a bitch.
And son of a bitch, come at me.
And we'll get to this later, because this is kind of an inspiration for Dark Knight, the way they did this.
Like, come on. Yeah. And then he shoots his wings, and he crashes.
Down.
Yeah.
And then we get to the
part where he chases Vicky up to that big building.
He takes Vicky to the tower, the
church tower.
The church tower, and we get there where Batman is actually going through like back to back. It's like video game level where he's fighting all his goons, and there's even a dude he fights that looks like Ray Charles with the fucking sunglasses.
Well, it's funny because he goes up there and they're trying desperately to break these stairs because they're made of wood, but when he gets up there, he sees her and Joker dancing. And they're playing that song. Yeah. And he's like, they're dancing. And you see like this one guy flipping around. Ah!
Yeah.
I mean, and he beats this dude's ass. Then this other one, he comes out and fucking jumps on him and stuff.
Yeah, and this is actually the first time we see Batman get his ass kicked because he's actually getting beat up by that one dude who looks like Ray Charles where he's doing like kung fu moves on him.
I like the part where he throws Batman. He thinks he threw him off the thing, and then he goes, and then next thing you know, the legs come.
Yeah, and then down, which
bangs his head on the bell.
Which some people actually that was actually kind of caused controversy because that's also the first time we see Batman kill because he actually basically killed a dude right there.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, we get to the final climax where he's dancing with Vicky, Joker is, and he's like
she's kissing
on him and stuff, and then we see Batman comes in. He's like, "Excuse me." have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight? And then he punches him right there. And he's like, you killed my parents and all that. And he's like, I was a kid when I killed your parents. He's like, you wouldn't hit a guy with glasses on, would you? And then he punches him.
And he punches him and the fake teeth come out.
Yeah.
Chattering. And he punches him and he punches him and hits his arm. And he's like, oh.
Yeah.
He goes, well, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Hey, you can hold a grudge on that.
Yeah. And then basically
glasses, would you?
Yeah. And then he ends up falling off the thing, and then we see that Batman and Vicky he pulls them back, and then the helicopter is trying to come to get him and stuff.
Get Joker
out of there. And then we see that he's talking shit to him. He's looking at the statue like, what are you laughing at? Yeah. And then we see basically in the end, Joker is holding on to
he's getting up on the stairs, but Batman shoots his little shooting ring thing that usually lifts him up in the
grappling
buildings.
Hook and
it wraps around Joker's foot to the statue.
Yeah, and then he basically, when he grabs the helicopter ladder, he ends up taking it with him, and then because of too much weight, he ends up falling down, and he ends up laughing his way down there.
Yeah, he's like, that music is playing, and you can see he's slowly going down each one.
Yeah.
And then he goes, Yeah. I was like, damn, he killed Joker.
Yeah, and then he ends up dying, and he has that thing that's in his, like, has that thing in his pocket where it's laughing. And then basically, it all ends where pretty much the police they think Batman is a hero, and Batman ends up giving them the signal for them to use in the future.
Yep.
And then we see that Vicky she ends up going home with Bruce Wayne after she resolves the case and keeps his identity secret.
Yep, and we'll never see her again.
Yep.
But anyways,
overall, man,
you can't deny Prince's soundtrack was amazing.
Yeah, I know it feels a little outdated for some because when it came out, it was big for the '80s.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, I still get into that fucking soundtrack.
Yeah, Prince nailed it. Yeah. Prince was great, man.
And overall,
everybody did good. I mean, to this day, I can't get enough of it.
I know. I still consider it like one of my favorites. But there's a film right after this I'll get into that I kind of have a little up more than this
I
one.
do too, and people don't often hear this, so this is going to be a big surprise. It's still a phenomenal grade for me on
it's a phenomenal grade for me on the film.
But believe it or not, because it's standard, I mean, it's not standard, it's still phenomenal, but there's something else we're about to get into right now that is considered my favorite of the original four. The original four.
The original, So overall, I highly recommend this. Now, after Batman came out, this changed like the face of fucking superhero movies. Like this movie broke box office records like no other, and so it showed that Tim Burton was that will make another one.
This is when Tim Burton was like loved by everybody.
Yeah,
he was the favorite director of all time. Right?
Yeah, because you
got to think he had Beetlejuice, and
Pee-wee,
Edward Scissorhands. I mean, this shit this shit just wouldn't stop for him.
Yeah,
this is probably his best of his career highlight.
But here's the thing: after the success, that's what I'm saying. After the success of this, it would be granted that a sequel would follow. And before the next one he would do, he was actually kind of reluctant on doing the next one because he felt like after doing the first movie, he really didn't want to like do any more Batman movies because he felt like he wasn't like completely. He was trying to stray away from the comics a lot, if you really think about it, because he strayed a lot from the idea of like the actual story arcs and stuff. But anyway, they offered him a ton of money to do the next one, and that's when we get into the very next one, which is the one I grew up with the most as the one that got me into the dark Batman. And this we're going to talk about is Batman Returns.
I did grow up on this one too, but I grew up also on the first one because I'm a lot older than you.
Yeah.
But this one, I still hold this one dear to my heart on a certain reason, even though I love the first one. But the reason why I put this one is because of something when I was a kid that happened to me, which I grew up in. I had to live in St. Jude's Cancer Hospital when I had cancer.
Yeah.
And this was around the time this movie came out.
Yeah.
So I had like all the characters. I had the suit of
Oswald
Cobblepot.
This came out, believe it or not, that's funny with this. The year this movie came out was the year I was born. In fact, if I remember, this came out the same exact weekend I was actually born.
God damn, I fucking feel old. I'm already 6.
Yeah. So when this movie came out, like
This was in 91.
This was in 92.
92, yeah. So, god damn, I was old.
Yeah, but anyway, this
Not
one,
old,
it once again is directed by Tim Burton. We have Michael Keaton come back in the role as Batman. And this time, we take a more darker angle with this because we actually see that this one deals with the Penguin this time. Because basically it starts where you have
Penguin and Catwoman.
Penguin and Catwoman and Max Schreck as the main villains. And this one we have... it starts actually with a backstory where we see that a boy is actually he's not shown.
Well, the
but
cast in this one is Danny DeVito
as the Penguin,
Christopher
Walken as Max Schreck, and you have Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman.
Yep.
And basically, with this one, you deal with
Christmas trees.
Yeah, this was actually a Christmas movie.
Yeah,
and you have it starts out where you have
well, it also has Paul Rubin as
that's what I was going to get to. Yeah. So the movie starts with, if you remember the guy who played Paul Rubens played Pee Wee, he starts out as his dad, and the girl also from Pee Wee's Big Adventure, they're his parents.
You know, it also reminded me of the scene. I thought we were watching Edward Scissorhands again.
I know. I was like,
because
this looks different.
After Tim Burton did kind of Beetlejuice, a lot of his movies didn't do that again until Edward Scissorhands. And when Edward Scissorhands happened, and this is after Batman, the first Batman, I noticed that Tim Burton had that Nightmare Before Christmas look at all his films.
That came out in 93, the year after Batman Returns.
Well, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I got you.
Where Penguin's mom and dad are hanging out, and you see them running, and they get rid of the baby.
Yeah,
and they throw him in the water.
Yeah, because their son actually killed their animal that they had, and basically they knew it was nasty, and so they end up throwing him in the water, and that's where we get the opening scene where it shows the little crib going through the sewers, and it says Batman Returns, and then it basically starts out where Gotham City this time looks and resembles more like actual Metropolis, like the old 1927 film.
Yeah, he got rid of that smoky look.
Yeah, we went for a more traditional, still gothic, but more of a kind of
motion picture.
Well, if you notice in this one too, they have these faces and stuff on the buildings and everything, and everything like that. So he was going for a kind of a Greek mythology type of setting.
I think what Tim Burton was trying to do was capture the city, Gotham, by who the villain is in the movie. We got the way it looked in the first movie because Joker looks like that kind of setting. Yeah. This one looks more of a Penguin setting.
Well, because it's more of a freakish nature type of vibe that he was going with. And basically, the story deals where you have Christopher Walken, who plays Max Schreck in this. He's this guy who's he's part of this power plant company that he owns called Schreck Industries. Yeah. And basically, he saw in this Christmas parade and stuff, or the event and everything like this. And his secretary, played by Selena Kyle, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, is basically, working for him and stuff. And there's some stuff that goes down to where it's okay. How do I explain this?
They're giving up presents.
There's a lot of villains in this that kind of have their own story. So you have the Penguins gang, because it's years later, where you have the Penguins gang invading this Christmas thing going on.
Well, it was doing the rap bow and stuff, and then next shit goes haywire, and you see these guys you don't know if they're creatures or guys, but they're inside these skeleton suits.
Yeah, they're like masks and stuff
masks.
like that.
They're
from a clown, like a carnival.
Carnival is what it is.
They're like carnival performers. Yeah. And basically they end up causing chaos, and that's when Batman gets called in, and this time we get to see Batman, he ends up going after him and stuff, and this is where we get some pretty neat. The action already starts right away. He's already kicking ass. This is the one where it actually threw me off, because the first time later watching it, I was like, holy shit. We actually see that there's one guy that Batman is, there's dude that's blowing out fire and stuff, and he ends up having the Batmobile shoot fire right at him.
Burn his ass.
I was like, holy shit.
Well, that was the part where Batmobile stops, and then next it fucking lifts up in the air, and then turns around, and burns the fuck out of them. But these villains are just attacking everybody, and they're all doing carnival shit. One's juggling shit around and all that stuff.
And then basically it deals with Christopher Walken ends up trying to get away from it, and he ends up falling inside this hole where it ends up taking him to the sewer. And that's where we get introduced to Penguin, who's played by Danny DeVito. And I can honestly say, that is the perfect fucking casting right there. Yeah, I don't think anyone else could ever played this so
I will say,
perfectly.
I love Jack Nicholson as Joker. Don't get me wrong, I thought he was awesome. I think on a standpoint of getting the character dead right.
Mm-hmm.
And the look and everything perfect. I think that Danny DeVito nailed it.
Yeah, he did.
A little bit more than
Yeah.
yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I love both of them, but as far as
Yeah.
like, because there's more layers to Penguin than I can say with Jack Nicholson's Joker.
That was one thing I think it lacked a little bit, even though it kind of gave us, but it just gave us like a little teeth. Little teeny one. This one
because it basically starts out where Penguin is actually trying to get Max Schreck for him to run to mayor.
Yeah.
Because Penguin tells him that he grew up, or I'm sorry, he wants to tell. Well, we'll get to it later, but basically, you feel really sorry for him the way the movie's going along, because he grew up where his parents abandoned him and stuff,
and he's heartbroken. And
and he ends up being raised by the underground,
Yeah.
and basically he negotiates with Shrek to try to get to run a mayor. And so he's using his leverage because he realized that
they put him in the cage.
Yeah, well, no, that's later. But they said that if he doesn't do this, then they'll keep him. They'll kill him.
Yeah.
And stuff. And then basically, the rest of the story deals with Selena Kyle, who's kind of a klutz. You know, she's trying to really get her life going and stuff, and she's kind of a loser. But basically, after she gets saved by Batman during the first action. We see that she goes into doing some research on Max Schreck because she left him these documents at his place. She goes there and she ends up noticing that there's some embezzlements and blackmail going on. And basically, because Max Schreck knows that she might try to rat on her, he ends up pushing her out the fucking window, and he's like
out of this building,
and she ends up falling back to back. And I'm like, damn, that just came out of nowhere. And then she ends up getting eaten. She gets bit by these cats and stuff in her. And
it really is like you still to this day don't know exactly what made her Catwoman. Cats biting her.
Did she come back to life? Yeah, it's never really clear. That is one thing I will say it wasn't too clear on.
Yeah.
Because they start biting on her and then she ends up waking up.
I just don't believe that. It just feels weird.
Yeah,
like a cop out.
Yeah, it kind of feels like she's okay. Maybe she's because cats have 9 lives. She was actually resurrected by cats, I guess.
I don't know.
But anyway, she ends up coming back and she ends up going to her apartment. She gets this really emotional scene where she's slamming shit back to back, and we see that
breaking all her shit.
And she ends up making her actual costume and making that black leather. And boy, when we see her later in that outfit, I can tell you that I'm not gonna lie. When I was little, she was probably one of my biggest crushes watching this movie.
Yeah.
But besides later when we get to Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
But anyway, that sexy black outfit that she puts on, man, that to me is Catwoman.
I will say when we see her first scene, I'll talk about it here in a little bit. That's going to be down the road. But anyways, back to what we're talking about. Yeah,
so in the meantime, we also see that Bruce Wayne is trying to, talk to Shrek about stuff going on and everything like that, because he's trying to, because Bruce Wayne works for him there with that, or I'm sorry, he works with them because he works with them to held all these different meetings and stuff, and basically, he's trying to tell Shrek, Penguin controls this gang and everything. He's dangerous. He should not run for mayor and stuff like that. And basically, that's when we see that Selena Kyle comes in, and she and Max Schreck's like, huh? Because he knows that he pushed her out and he thought he killed her.
Yeah.
And he's like, Selena.
She's sitting there talking shit to him.
Yeah.
And this is where Penguin's pretty much out in the open now.
Yeah, basically, okay, to lead up to this, we see that later on in the film, Penguin ends up coming out of to his grave to actually visit his parents because no. I'm sorry.
First they bring those people.
Okay, so here's what here's the lead up to this. They have this meeting that's going on with the events that took place.
Yeah.
Someone of Penguin's gangs have taken a baby and taken it to the sewers, and then after they bring him to the sewers, Penguin brings it back to him, and then he gets called. He's going to save the day as a hero.
Yeah.
And so that's when he pretty much tells the public, he says, I want to know what happened to my parents. And you really start to feel for him in this because it gets pretty emotional. Yeah. Where you see that, he wants to find out who they were and everything. Goes to their grave and he realizes that they passed away. And then he decides that I want to change Gotham. I want to become mayor and do what's right.
Because he saved his little baby's life. Everybody's like, this is a real hero right here. Not Batman.
Yeah.
This is a real hero.
They make it vilify that Batman's pretty much, the problem.
Yeah.
And stuff. So they're trying to it's kind of like Joker's thing in the first movie where, Joker was trying to get all the attention. But this one, they actually have a good motive here because it shows, Penguin is trying to take control of stuff.
Yeah.
And basically...
And he's trying to use propaganda how Batman's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And he's the way the right way to go through.
Yeah, and then he ends up going to all these meetings and stuff, and he ends up.
I remember he bites that one dude's fucking
So
nose.
he goes to this thing where he's talking about running for mayor and stuff.
They're
and
giving him gloves and shit.
He's like, here, just put these gloves on, and he's like, because he's trying to bite that fish that Walken gives to him.
And then they're sitting here, they're laughing about
They're
something.
laughing about something. He's like, still.
And then he goes,
no, he's like, still, could be worse. My nose could be gushing blood. And then he bites that fucker's dude's nose. I was like, damn.
And the blood squirt.
I was like,
yeah, and you actually see blood going down his mouth and everything. A dude's mouth. Penguin's mouth.
Yeah.
And it's black and fucking red, dude. I was like, this is probably the most hardcore Batman
movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, of that time, yeah.
And then we see, pretty much after that happened, we see that, while this is
I used to have all the stuff too of the couple pot for mayor and all that. I had the suit. I had it came with the flyers for mayor.
Yeah.
So I had all that.
Pretty much the rest of the story deals where Batman is trying to stop not only Penguin doing this and everything, but he's also trying to stop Catwoman because Catwoman is trying to do her own thing where she's trying to spread anarchy and all that. And, because she ends up saving this one girl when we first see her, where she ends up slicing this dude's fucking face. And
I know.
I was like, damn.
Because they were trying to rape the girl.
Yeah. And so he saves her, and
well, that's what Catwoman is, though. If you look at it, she's
an anti-hero.
She's an anti-hero. She don't really care for men much. She saves women who need help.
Yeah, she's
a woman's hero.
Kind of like, I guess you would say, she's a feminist, I guess.
She's all woman's hero, but at the same time, she likes to steal.
Yeah, and so because especially that part where she's in the kind of gallery where she's hitting off the mannequins and stuff.
Well, there's a part that shit's going down, and I do remember this is the part where Penguin and Batman finally meet.
Yeah, and where he meets him on the street and stuff because he's fighting his gangs and stuff like that. And basically, there's that part
Penguin is coming down in that little he has his
that's later on. But
I liked how Penguin has all the cool ass umbrellas.
After, yeah, well, the lead up
but anyways,
to this
when they're talking right there,
before the lead up to that is that he's fighting his gang members and stuff. And there's this big dude that he comes across. He's like, "Go on, hit me," and then he punches him, and then he sees that the bomb is like right next to him. And he's like, and then he walks away and he blows up. I was like, "Damn, he killed another fucking dude."
So him and Penguin are dialoguing, and next you see Selena Kyle fucking flipping.
Yeah.
She goes, like, meow.
And then boom. And then he's like, I saw her first. Gotta fly.
And then he gets on the helicopter thing with his umbrella. Yeah.
Yeah. And then pretty much the rest of this deals where Selena Kyle is actually coming to work with, she comes to meet Penguin to work together to try to basically show that he's trying to be mayor and he wants to get all the attention from Gotham. To do this, they use the
well, isn't she trying to get to what's his face?
To Batman, yeah. But
no, not Batman. She's trying to get closer
to Max Schreck, because Penguin works with him. And basically, to do this, he ends up getting her to take the girl that we saw at the very beginning of the movie that was kind of like promoting the Christmas stuff, taking her hostage. And then we see later when she escapes, or I'm sorry, basically Batman has to come rescue her. And then we see that they have this fight that goes on, and man, Batman gets his ass fucking handled to him by Catwoman every time they come fighting each other.
He stabs her his thing, yeah. And this is where Alfred talks more in this movie.
Yeah, because Alfred
helping him with his injuries and stuff.
He helps him out with technology and stuff like that. So he has more of a substantial role here.
Yeah,
and we also see that there's a part where the girl actually ends up getting let's see, I'm trying to remember. Okay, I've seen the movie plenty of times. Got to remember this part. The girl gets on the rooftop, and there's a part where the Penguin comes out, and she ends up opening this thing where it shows like all these bats, and she ends up falling off from it, and then they blame Batman for it.
Yeah, they blame Batman. Well, he sets him up for murder.
Yeah, and the people see that she falls down, and they
and this becomes actually a political movie because you got basically pretend Batman's running for mayor or whatever. It's basically him. It's like a Hillary versus Trump thing.
Yeah,
where you have one making propaganda of one, the other one setting up the other one.
Yeah,
and then him and Alfred come together and they make up that tape where here's Penguin saying what he's going to do to the city.
Yeah.
And then, he's in the middle of his campaign and and that's where his voice comes on the
Well,
intercom.
no, the lead up to that is that we pretty much see that Batman is trying to escape because the cops are looking for him this time. And basically, because the cops are looking for him, he has to go through the Batmobile, and he realizes, because the lead up to that is the gang of Penguin end up putting this thing that's on his Batmobile where it's a track him.
Yeah.
And then we see this part where Penguin goes inside this little trailer. He's got this little mini Batmobile thing that he's on, and he starts like,
oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, making him crash into shit. Yeah,
he's like,
and that's where Batman rips it out of the ground, out of his car. And
you're not gonna believe this, but my license has expired.
He's like, screaming.
And then he's like, I played this stinking city like a heart from hell, and that's recorded.
Shit, and that's all. Everything's recorded. So whenever he goes on his campaign's fully ruined.
Yep. And then everyone starts revolting against him, and he starts taking out his little gun and start blasting from the umbrella.
And he realizes he has to run back to the sewer.
So he ends up going back, and then that's when we see that his entire plan is to pretty much go. His plan is basically to take all the sons of the first sons of Gotham, and basically to basically have them killed and stuff. So it gets pretty fucking gruesome the way that he's trying to do this plan. On top of that, we also have the other subplot involving where Selina Kyle is getting close to Bruce Wayne and stuff. And I'll admit, for what they have, I thought they were really good together. I enjoyed their chemistry, him and Selina Kyle. Yeah. And because it shows that they have dual sides. Because
this is where he has Max in that cage.
Yeah, that's later. But I'm talking about the lead up to that is that we have Bruce Wayne trying to, he falls for Selina and everything.
Yeah, he falls
for her. And
he
ends up noticing that they both have a dark side, basically. Mm-hmm. And he actually, I was going to mention this. They actually bring up the girl from the first movie, Vicky. Mm-hmm. She was like, she has a girlfriend. He's like, didn't work too well. Basically, I kept things from her and things like that. And basically, she moved on and stuff. Yeah. And it got complicated. So, in a way...
Why did the actress not come back?
I don't know. I guess it was just because probably Burton just went ahead and probably no room and everything like that. But
I guess he didn't want to take too much off of
Selina Kyle.
But that would have been funny if she got rid of the Selina Kyle name and she was a Catwoman in the second one.
Vicky, yeah.
And she fell off a building and stuff. Vicky Vale. That would have been cool.
That would have been interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they done changed up shit. Jack Napier's Joker.
Yeah. So, I mean, with this one, we have... We lead to the final climax where Batman has to go after Penguin this time. And he's in this little boat that's pretty cool. Which I actually had that as a kid. When I was a kid, I actually had that as a toy.
Well, whenever he sent all those people to go get the kids to steal the babies.
That's when he puts Christopher Walken in that. Well, the lead up to this is that, okay, Bruce Wayne goes to this ball that they're hosting from Max's charity thing or whatever. He goes there and he notices Selina Kyle's there. They're talking and everything, and she realizes that there's a setup where she's actually going to try to kill him she has a gun and stuff. She's trying to kill him right there. Mm-hmm. That's when Penguin actually breaks in from underground, and then he ends up taking... he wants to take Max Shreds' son, who we forgot to mention earlier, because his plan is to take all the sons of Gotham and bring them to the... all the first sons of Gotham and bring them to the sewers. Yeah. And then he ends up taking Christopher Walken instead, and that's when he puts him in that little cage where he's trying to get the key from the fucking monkey. Yeah. And
while this is going on, Penguin sets up where his penguins go out there with the
little bombs and stuff like that. Yeah. And then he ends up going to and then they realize it all backfires because they end up stopping. And then basically,
what it is Alfred takes above ground, and uses a voice activated this noise that scares the penguins away from wanting to go to their areas. Meanwhile, we like in the first one we saw Batman in the Batwing. We see him on a boat. This one,
and I like that boat that he goes through. He's going through the sewers and stuff, and things like that. It's pretty neat. And then we see the penguins end up getting deactivated from the missiles, and then it leads that pretty much all the penguins gang, they end up leaving him. He's like, fuck this, we're out, because they can't and then he's all by himself. And
actually they're not just out, they're going back to the thing to get ready to shoot up where Penguin's at. They trick him.
Well, and plus the place is about to explode basically. And yes, I'm saying
the penguins have the missiles.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And he makes the penguins where the penguins join Batman and Alfred, and then they wait on when Penguin's out and above, and that's when they start shooting at the thing.
I remember.
And this is where Selina Kyle, Batman. All right, so some stuff is going on, and they're fighting above ground, and the penguin starts shooting, and then Batman activates all his bats to get all over a penguin's face.
Yeah.
He's like, ah! And then he falls, and basically, while that's going on, you have the Selena Kyle thing with Christopher Walken, where they're kind of going at it.
Yeah, because he ends up escaping, and then he sees that she starts beating him up and stuff, and then she starts trying to kill him right there with using the whip.
Yeah.
And then pretty much it all leads to Batman end up coming there, because basically after a fight takes place where Batman and Penguin are fighting,
he's already coming out of the water. He's all fucking blooded up and shit.
Well, that's later, but what I was saying is he ends up crashing his vehicle inside the place where it was, and Batman ends up going inside the thing where it's at, where the Penguin's lair is. He ends up encountering Selena Kyle and Max Schreck, and he tries to talk, Selena out of it to just go home. And that's when he takes off his mask, and you see he reveals that he's Bruce Wayne. And then he get that funny scene where Christopher Walken's like, "And Bruce Wayne, why you dress up like Batman?"
And, you're fired.
You're fired, Selena. You're fired, because she takes her mask off, and then basically she ends up.
Well, the place was already blown up, and Joker found his little thing.
Well, Penguin.
Penguin did, because it's all sparkly and on fire, and then they're all fucking cut up and shit from explosions and shit.
Yeah.
And then that's where he's shooting her
like multiple times.
He
was like 7. All good girls go to heaven.
And then she starts laughing, and then she
runs out of bullets.
She goes. She's telling him, like, Bruce Wayne, I wish I could live with you in your castle. And then she takes a little sparkly thing and with Max, and then she goes, kiss Santa Claus.
Yes, how about a kiss, Santa Claus? And they electrocute each other. Which,
fries,
we'll get into this later, but believe it or not, that actually right there was supposed to be Two-Face. They actually had Two-Face for this movie.
Max?
For Max. Max was actually supposed to be
they're changing names up. They should have had Vicky Bell.
That's what I'm saying. You should have had Billy D. Williams come back for that.
Well, anyways, he's burnt up to a crisp, and you hear Joker come out of the water. And this is kind of sad. This part, even though what he's done, I kind of was emotional. Because he's sitting there.
He has the blood coming out and everything.
Pouring everywhere. Black
he's like,
blood.
I need a glass of...
I need to drink a glass of cold water. And then he falls over dead.
Which I actually...
And then the penguins come out and bury him.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty sad.
Yeah.
And then pretty much Batman escapes, and he ends up seeing that... basically, he ends up leaving and everything, everything's back to normal. And then he comes across, him and Alfred are driving down the road. He comes across this cat that he sees, and then he ends up taking it with him.
He saw a shadow.
He thought he shadow of Catwoman.
He's like, I thought she died.
Yeah. And this is also where we get to see, toward the end, they have this shot of Catwoman actually looking at the sky, because the bat signal is in the sky, calling Batman again. Yeah. And we see that Catwoman actually puts her head out, and we see that she's still alive.
Yeah.
So there was actually...
Yeah, when they're doing that buildings, going up in the building before they come to an end,
So they actually planned to initially have a spin-off after this took place, leading up to future sequels. Yep. So... overall, man, there's this movie to me, other than the Nolan series,
I'm not going to talk about. I'm just going to go with the first 4.
Yeah,
I think this one topped the first.
Yeah, this to me, I think was the best out of the original movies.
I know I'm rare on that. That's fine.
Yeah,
I just something about this one. I felt like it tapped.
Honestly,
I just think that maybe because the first one was still so phenomenal, but it was still really straightforward and quick.
Yeah,
this one. There's a lot of backstory.
There was a lot of. It was on a more epic level. Yeah. The action scenes were so well done. You had a lot of great layers to the characters and the villains. Because believe it or not, Batman, even though he is the central focus, it's really more of the villain story in this than it is really about Batman.
It is,
because it all takes about their story.
It really is about Penguin.
That's what I'm saying, and Catwoman. Yeah. And like everyone was phenomenal, man.
But blended so well too.
It did, and I honestly love it as a Christmas movie because I like the winter. The cinematography. I will tell you,
the cinematography of the winter is one of my favorite things on this. Mm-hmm. I want to see another snow Batman movie.
We kind of got Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises, yeah, but that was so.
That was later.
Fucking way later. This one really showed the snow more.
Yeah.
It really deepens the atmosphere, the flakes and all that stuff. Yeah. Even the credits even did that.
Absolutely,
at the beginning
I love that shit.
Yeah, letting you know this is going to be a snow Christmassy movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought that was fucking perfect.
It was. And believe it or not, when this movie came out, it didn't make quite as much as the first movie did, but it was quite a big box office success. And however, I'm going to get into this. This is the film that when it came out, the critics they were kind of mixed on it compared to the first movie.
Mhm.
This is the movie that parents fucking got pissed at. The
dark.
mother
Yeah.
because it was too. They were considered it was too dark.
Yeah, because the first one didn't show really much blood. This one showed quite a bit of blood.
Yeah, and it was a lot. They had a lot more dark elements. Where you had the penguin like trying to kill kids and stuff and things like that. McDonald's actually had a promotion that they were going to do to sell Happy Meal toys and stuff, and they had to cancel it because the movie was too dark because of parents. So really,
Kids were scared of penguins.
Oh yeah, but growing up, that it's Batman,
Yeah.
But anyway,
I think Batman is one of the only superheroes that actually fits in a more dark setting.
it does, yeah. And
I mean, his character's dark.
that's what I'm saying. And with that, overall, like I love this movie to death. And
Yes.
I'm giving this a high phenomenal grade.
Yeah,
on
it's
the
a
Phreeks scale.
it's a high phenomenal grade, and it's in my top 3 favorite
I think
ever. It's my top 3 favorite Batman films ever made of all time.
I think it might probably be. It's in my top 3 Tim Burton movies as well. Definitely.
Well, obviously, there's only fucking 2.
Well, that and Beetlejuice.
Oh, you're saying Tim Burton movies?
Tim Burton
I thought
movies.
you said out of the Tim Burton.
No,
Batman
I'm talking about
movies.
all of his movies.
Oh, I was
combined.
about to say it was
yeah.
only 2, but yeah. I would say in my top 3 favorite films he's ever done too.
Yeah. So after this movie came out,
I
it
got
pretty
pee.
much.
So let's stop right there.
Now, after the success of
Batman Returns.
Batman Returns, it was showing that that they pretty much showed that Warner Brothers looked at the film as basically it was getting a little too dark because they got complaints from parents, and so keep in mind that this same year this came out. We actually got. We wanted to bring this up. We actually have the animated series that came out in 1992, the exact same year, which was created by Bruce Timm.
Yep.
And this, believe it or not, this is the show that I grew up with. Batman.
This is the show I grew up with, and I think we could all say the same. Going home from school, coming home from school, you'd always, or whatever part of the time of day it is. I remember hearing the theme from the first and second movie because they got the guy coming
Danny
back
Elfman to do the theme song.
And it goes up in the air of the animated of the building. Then it shows Batman signaling Batman. Yeah. This one was like I believe it was also the longest running one, wasn't it?
It lasted for about 4 seasons, and then
it only
lasted for about 4 seasons.
Why did they play it?
They had a lot of episodes. Like they had I think they had like 20 something episodes per season.
Yeah, because it feels like whenever they go back to like going back in time and rehashing shows, they don't really go to the other ones, but this one.
Yeah, because
this is the one I see keep being rerun.
Yeah,
the most.
And basically this one it has the voice talents of Kevin Conroy playing Batman, and it also has one of the probably the most iconic voice actors to play of all time to do Joker.
Yes,
Mark Hamill. And here as Joker. Now introducing him. Now here's the funny thing: they actually were going to have Tim Curry to voice Joker for first before Mark Hamill came on, but they thought that because Tim Curry was a little too scary, they thought his voice was a little too intimidating. They decided to go with a more kind of a different side of Joker. So instead, they went with Mark Hamill.
I will have to say that was a good choice right there because Tim Curry has been disabled for like the last 7 years. He can't talk much because he had a stroke. That means his run of Joker would have been over quick. Mark Hamill still has lots of years, even though he's old. But Tim Curry had that massive stroke.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying no offense to him. He should not blame his health or anything, but I mean, his health would have already closed the series completely forever. While we got Mark Hamill doing it, he can still do more.
Yeah, but I mean, it would have been interesting to see Tim Curry because, believe it or not, on episodes they show, you can actually hear a clip that they left in there that was actually Tim Curry's laugh that they left in there because they actually had footage.
Well, he played it, so
they actually recorded his voice, but they actually had to cut it, and so it's never been released to the public.
Yeah.
So after they actually did overdubs with Mark Hamill's voice.
But
so anyway, going to the TV show. This is the show I grew up with the most because. This was to me growing up, this was my favorite cartoon show of all time because this not only got me into Batman a lot based on the stories they did, because in this version of Gotham, it's very reminiscent of the Tim Burton films, but it also less on that. It was basically still taking the gothic kind of look of it, like the film noirish look, and it kind of resembled like it was out of the
animated.
30s. Yeah. It kind of resembled like it came out of the 30s or 40s, the setting.
Yeah, it does.
Because you have Bruce Wayne, who is, driving vehicles and stuff that's kind of reminiscent of like the older times.
Yeah.
You know, but in a good way. It's like a retro
Yeah.
sort of thing. But anyway, this show, I can say, like, the stories they came up with all the villains and stuff, you know, you got Two-Face in, you got the origins of Two-Face.
This is the first time they're also getting all the villains in.
You got
because we never see it, like, in all the other shows as much. I mean, the movies.
Yeah, this is the first ones they got introduced to Clayface.
Yeah.
You also got new versions of Mr. Phreeks, because Mr. Phreeks was on the original series, but this is the one they actually gave a very... Probably one of my favorite episodes is the episode where Mr. Phreeks actually has a tragic backstory where his wife is pretty much ill, and he's trying to find a cure for her, which, unfortunately...
We'll go into more detail
with that, and also Batman and Robin, but when we first introduced him in this character... Dude, man, that to me is how you make a fucking villain. I like that you give him a tragic backstory like that.
They did a lot with Mr. Freeze. This is where they were really trying to bring him more mainstream.
Yeah, and they also did a lot with Joker, because Joker...
Of course, is in every episode.
There were also other villains I enjoy, too, like... You have Scarecrow, which you have a couple episodes where he's spreading the toxic fear around people and stuff, and Batman starts seeing the hallucinations.
And that was the first time we ever seen him on anything,
because he's never used before.
Yeah, he's never been used.
And there's even one episode that actually was kind of cool, because they actually show that his actual gas comes back and bites him, because he starts seeing fear of Batman.
Yep.
Which would later be used in Batman Begins.
Yeah, I like that too. I love that episode.
Yeah, and then you also have other villains that came around, which were they added a lot more layers to him. Like my all-time favorite episode is the one with Two-Face, because we see the rise and fall of Harvey Dent.
Yeah, I liked his classic white suit with the black and red.
Basically, because Harvey Dent was trying to do work with the mob and stuff, and an event goes down in one episode where he ends up actually getting burned by this explosion that happens, and then the way he wakes up, it's kind of reminiscent of Tim Burton's Batman, the way Joker says mirror and all that, and then we see that they take the bandages off, and we see that he's actually disfigured.
Yeah, I remember that. I actually remember that episode.
And I actually had that action figure of it, too.
That's funny. I wish I would have talked about that part in Batman. He goes, "You see what I got to work with?" He starts laughing. It's so fucked up looking. God, I wish I would have talked about that earlier.
But the build up to this episode was like so great, because we see that, because Harvey Dent in general, in like a lot of the episodes, he's struggling with his alternative personality. Yeah. Because he starts to have hallucinations of big bad Harv, the guy who's like, trying to get, he's like in his head, he's like having psychological
disorder. This Two-Face, unlike the other one that they do with Tommy Lee Jones and the later ones with Nolan, is this one actually everything's split in two with this Two-Face. Even his personality,
even with the coin that he does.
Yes, everything is really split down the middle, like split personality. His mind thinks two different ways.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So that's why I liked what they did with this Two-Face. I think the other ones, they only do it for the image. You can obviously see
there are some layers they do with some of the other ones, but this one they really show the psychological damage that he goes through.
Well, this one actually sells you the fucking two with the word two. There's two of everything.
One of my other favorite villains in the show is the Penguin, because they actually modeled the Penguin in this show kind of off of the Tim Burton one. Yeah. But this time he resembles more of an actual guy, but he wears the monocle and the top hat and stuff, and he talks kind of like he's from kind of in a British type voice. Yeah. Or no, I'm sorry, that was the later seasons. Never mind. But anyway. Yeah, there's like so many other villains I want to get into.
Because they also introduced some other ones, too.
Like Clayface. They actually introduced Clayface in this for the first time. And I remember when the first time I seen that, the way that they used the animation and stuff to make him like form and everything.
Didn't they introduce and make their own villains in the show?
I think, there were other villains too, like... a
lot of mob bosses, I know that.
Yeah, there was some other ones. The one we have to bring up, because this is iconic, and this is what got us into later comic books, Harley Quinn. Yep. This is the one that got us Harley Quinn.
I remember. She was crazy.
She was crazy, and she was in the juggler suit and stuff. Yeah. This show is what brought her into the mainstream. Yeah. And so every time I seen her, man, she not only cracked me up, but she was so full of herself to the point that I wanted to see. They actually have full-on episodes in later seasons where she works with Poison Ivy, because in the comics later they see that Harley Quinn actually kind of has like a lesbian type relationship with Poison Ivy.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Woo, them two? Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah. And that's another one too, Poison Ivy. They bring Poison Ivy up in this, and I like that they show how they basically, she kisses people and she gets sick and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many iconic villains in this show.
Yeah.
But the strongest thing for me, the most that really delves onto, is the action sequences, and also the overall animation is so fluent and still holds up today. You watch this show and it looks like it just came out yesterday.
It still holds up a lot. And there's so many. The writing was so great in this film. And a lot of twists and turns, and it's a shame that it only lasts as short as it did. Because I've never seen every episode, but I thought it was a lot longer than that.
Yeah, I own all 4 seasons.
And be honest with you, this is something I thought they were still making almost till this day, or at least stopped a few years ago.
Yeah,
but you can be kind of heavily mistaken, because what gets me confused with the Batmans later on, we're going to get to them, is you had so many different people making their own animated show.
Yeah, because this was basically the start of the DC animated universe that they did.
Yeah.
That DC did. And also, keep in mind, if I had, really anything I wasn't really too big on, I liked what they do in some episodes, but there were some episodes where I didn't really care too much with Robin helping out. Because a lot of the episodes, he just really didn't, I just didn't really care too much for him. But they do have later stuff that I got into, when they show his backstory and stuff, like how he became who he was. And there's even one episode I enjoy where he's going after the Scarecrow, where it takes place at this football field.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they do some great stuff with them. It's just that I mainly focus on the episodes where Batman's by himself.
Yeah. Because that's what I think they should have focused mostly with.
Yeah.
No offense to Robin. Robin should have came later on.
Yeah, because throughout the first seasons, I think he had them split in between. Because from what I remember, they didn't air the episodes in chronological order, so a lot of they were mainly standalone episodes.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah.
If anything,
if I rank my favorite episodes, I go the one with Two-Face. The Christmas with the Joker was pretty good.
Christmas, yeah. Especially.
You also have the one with the Mr. Freeze one, cold as hard as ice or whatever, and you also have probably the one with what's it called? Oh, one of my all-time favorites is the one where you have all the villains hanging out in this poker game, and they all are talking shit to each other, and it's called Almost Got 'Em, where you have Killer Croc, Two-Face, Joker, and what's her name, Poison Ivy, all hanging out together with Joker, and they're playing cards, and Joker's fucking cheating by looking at their cards.
Of course, he would be the one fucking cheating. Joker would be the one cheating. And who only catches him? Because I didn't see that one.
Yeah, that one's a classic. I love that one.
Who caught
Well,
him?
there's a twist to it. Spoilers. Batman, because Killer Croc and all them are all there. They're all telling their stories of how they almost beat Batman. There's actually a part where Killer Croc is he's like, there I was at the end at this squirrel, and then where Batman was, and then he was like, and then they were like, and I threw a rock at him, and then they just had this long pause where to look at him as like he's fucking stupid.
Stupid, we done way more than that, you little fucking pussy.
Yeah,
you retard. Because he's the one that just has more physical and zero.
Killer Croc's I like his physical strength that he does.
I'm surprised Joker didn't make fun of his ass.
Yeah. But no, because throughout the episode, it's him and Two-Face talking shit to each other, where Two-Face is
talk shit to Joker?
Yeah, he's talking shit to Joker, where he's like,
God, that's
clown.
classic.
Yeah. You gotta watch that episode. It's great. But anyway, it all turns out there's a twist behind it, where actually it turns out Batman is actually posing as Killer Croc the whole time. So that's the twist.
Oh God, where's Killer Croc the whole time though?
He's locked up. Yeah. So the entire time it was a sting operation for Batman to get to save everyone else. Because while they're telling the stories of how they almost got Batman, there's a stuff going on where Catwoman is pretty much in captive from Harley Quinn, and basically throughout this episode, they're all telling their stories, and in the end, there was a sting operation the whole time because Batman was Killer Croc the whole time and caught him. So, dude,
So who caught him cheating though?
Well, nobody. Oh, no, it was Joker the whole time. You can see it's played subtle because he's like looking at their cards and stuff, and he's like, I got that one.
You got that? Yeah, he's got probably like a card hiding under here. Yeah, I gotta watch that one.
Yeah, but anyway.
I thought it was a compelling show.
It was. This was a really great show, man. There's more I want to go in detail, but I would have to watch, I would have to discuss every single episode.
Would you call it your out of the animated series?
It's my favorite.
Movies? Yeah,
out of my favorite TV shows, it's my favorite animated show of all time.
It is mine. It is
and
mine.
With that, I'm going with the phenomenal grade on the Film Phreeks.
I'll go high compelling grade. Yeah,
fair enough. Now, after this came out, believe it or not, after the first season, they decided to do a movie a year later in 1993 called Batman: Mask of the Phantasm, because the show was doing so well at the time. Mm-hmm. They decided that to get more of the attention. They wanted to actually put a live animated film in theaters, and Batman: Mask of the Phantasm came out in 1993. And believe it or not, I didn't see this in theaters when it came out, but I did get a chance to actually watch in theaters earlier this year because it came back as its 25th anniversary. Yeah. And this film, believe it or not, this was the movie that really, really pushed a lot with the animated series because this, to me, I think is probably. You could argue this is probably the best animated Batman film of all time.
Animate, yeah. Keep in mind, I haven't seen a lot of the ones, which I'm just gonna get out of the way so we don't forget. But I haven't seen the Killing Joke, which I heard was bad, but we'll get to that. I didn't see the Red Hood and all them other ones because I see a lot of people refer to the Red Hood as being the best.
Yeah, there's Red Hood. There's also I've seen the Dark Knight Returns, which is good, but I haven't seen Year One. There's been a lot of ones that I haven't seen that have come out, but there's been some that I have. So we'll get to that later. But the one that really got me introduced to the animated movies was Mask of Phantasm.
Mask of Phantasm to me still holds my favorite of the anime. Give or take, I don't watch many of the animated movies. I gotta go back and watch them.
But with this one has a very interesting story because we see that in Gotham we have this weird force, this kind of Grim Reaper-esque vigilante that's going around killing these mob bosses in Gotham City, and he's
actually killing people that instead of just getting them for corruption and arresting them. Dead bodies are starting to show up. And they're like, Batman killing people?
Yeah, that's another thing, too. Not to go backwards, but Kevin Conroy, I feel like, has probably, as far as voices, he not only carries it as fucking Bruce Wayne, but also as Batman. Yeah. He has the most, intimidating voice that I love.
I think I agree with you 100%.
But anyway, the movie deals where this kind of Grim Reaper guy is basically going around killing mob bosses. Yeah. And we see that Batman's trying to stop him, and then there's this corruption going on inside the police where this kind of political figure guy is trying to get the cops to go after Batman because they feel like Batman is killing these mob bosses.
Because now Batman, like I just said minutes ago, that Batman usually arrests people and they go to jail, and now all of a sudden, somebody's taking the law in their own hands and they're killing people. Yeah. They're killing the villains. Batman, and they're like, Batman's killing people now?
Yeah, because, and if you know in the comics, Batman, his number one rule is that he doesn't kill. Yeah. So the animated series also did that where he doesn't kill his villains, he just stops them. Yeah. This one, they're thinking Batman's actually killing these guys and he's going after them and stuff. While this is happening, we also get introduced to this girl that is that was a previous love life of Batman named Andrea. Who this movie actually goes into quite a lot of backstory with Batman of who he was, after his parents died, which I actually got into because it shows that after his parents died, he ended up wanting to, stop crime and stuff and be able to be, a symbol for Gotham and everything. Yeah. And basically, because he wanted to fulfill his parents' legacy, he decides to do little small time crimes and stuff, and then work his way into learning martial arts and stuff like that. We actually get into a lot of backstory with this while he's doing his relationship with that girl. Yeah. And while this is happening, we also find out that that girl that he ends up coming across is her father is part of is involved with these mob guys who, if you remember the main current segments, they're getting killed off one by one by this Phantom person. Yeah. So the movie's kind of going by half prequel, half sequel to the animated series.
Yeah. That is true.
And so the rest of it deals where you really see a lot going through the motions because Bruce Wayne, you see the first time he puts the mask on and you see the Batcave and stuff, the way it's explored. They go into quite a good story arc with this.
Very story arc, man. And it's our first time we really get dig out origin.
Yeah, because we've never seen that. I mean, we got glimpses of it in the original Tim Burton one, but this one they were showing that it was a full-on prequel, basically.
Yeah, a full-on origin.
Origin of Batman, yeah. And then basically it deals where later on in the film, we see that after some stuff goes down, he ends up getting trying to get shot down by the cops and stuff. And man, I know the last mob boss that the Phantom is trying to go after. It's this old guy who's actually played by Ava Gouda from The Godfather. And this guy ends up going to Joker as a way to try to get Batman, because he knows that Joker and Batman have a history. And also, spoilers for those who haven't seen it, Joker actually was involved with the original mob bosses. That was part of that in the past. That girl's dad was involved with.
Yeah.
So because there's a guy that they show in flashbacks that has like this long nose and stuff, and he doesn't have the makeup on, but he resembles fucking Joker.
Yeah.
He doesn't even talk in any of these scenes.
Yeah.
And so he ends up going to the Joker to get help and stuff. And the first time we see Joker, he's at like this weird kind of factory thing, and it's like this abandoned kind of like a show place or whatever. And it shows like all these robots that he's messing with and all that, where they're like, he's like, "Hey honey, I'm home," and it's this robot thing like cutting meat and stuff.
I remember that. Yeah.
And man, Mark Hamill, once again, he shows that he is so fucking iconic.
Yeah, he's so fucking iconic.
But anyway, it all boils down to where in the end we see that there's an actual twist behind it, where the girl the entire time was the Phantom as a revenge to get against Joker. And so after the Joker ends up killing the last mob boss himself, basically has him turn into like fucking the original Tim Burton one.
Yeah.
Batman ends up going to where the abandoned factory is, and that's where the Phantom also shows up, and the Joker finds out that's actually that's actually her. And so they have this big climax that takes place where after some stuff goes down, the girl and Joker end up like basically blowing up into smithereens there. So you're led to believe Joker pretty much died. And Batman ends up escaping, of course. And then he later sees that there's this locket that he finds, or this kind of necklace that he finds in the Batcave or whatever. And we later see that the girl ends up getting away after actually escaped. But you're kind of led to believe that Joker pretty much either got away or died, because it's never really shown what happened to him. But overall, this movie I can say was like so phenomenal, man. Like everything that I liked about the animated series, it skyrocketed a lot with this movie.
It did. The animation was so great in this film. I no lie, there was not going to be no problem.
And what's different was that since it was a bigger budget this time, they decided to use computer generated images for like the opening scenes.
It's actually more crystal clear than the TV show.
Yeah, they still use the same.
They do the same look, but it's because it is a motion picture. A lot of people don't know, if you weren't born, this was actually in theaters. This was a big deal.
Yeah, it was in 93. Yeah. And unfortunately, though, because it was around the time when not a lot of people really watched, I guess, because I guess either due to marketing or some other way, it didn't do too well in theaters.
Here's the thing. It does play the more adultish elements with the shooting, killings, and all that stuff. So, parents, again... What the fuck? Now you're doing the same thing again, but not as bad as they did with Tim Burns.
But this came out the same year, or I'm sorry, the year after Return. So this one, I guess because parents were kind of like skeptical, I guess possibly with Returns, they were kind of worried how another Batman like this would probably come across. I'm guessing that was probably the reason. Yeah. So unfortunately, this movie didn't do too well in theaters. It made a huge fucking profit on home video though.
Oh, dude,
because I watched that shit growing up and. Dude,
whether you like Red Hood better or Year One or whatever you like better, I do. It's give or take. The Mask of the Phantom, it still holds up as easily the top three. To me, it's my favorite. But at the same time, I haven't seen many of the movies, so I can't really say. I don't got no grounds to really stand.
Yeah.
But from what I've heard from people who watch all of these animated, and they just they love them to death. A lot of people will put this as either 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah, definitely. And with that, I'm giving this a phenomenal grade on the Film Phreeks meter. I think I actually like this because it adds more involvement with it. I do like it better than the animated story.
I like
it's everything. Dude. Yeah,
the Phantom guy.
The Phantom guy was cool, especially.
I wish we'd see him more.
I know. I would love to see him in a video game, like some Arkham games,
or be brought up as an official villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was funny because this was the funny thing. When they did the toys of the movie coming out, they accidentally spoiled that it was the girl because they actually had her unmasked where you could put the mask on.
Oh,
they fucking spoiled it with the toys.
But yeah, it's a phenomenal grade on me too. So
Yeah, now after this came out, basically we didn't see any type of while the series was still going on successfully on television,
Yeah.
we actually didn't see any other Batman films for at least a few years because basically
Tim
Tim Burton was pretty much done with Batman at
All
this
right.
point.
Well, here's the thing. Even though everybody calls 1 and 2 phenomenal, which I agree, they are phenomenal. 2's horror elements kind of fucked a little bit up.
Yeah, but that was mainly because the parents that complained because it was too dark.
So they were scared to do a third one for a while.
Well, here's where we get into the backstory because this has an interesting story that they did. So after Batman Returns was a huge success, Warner Brothers, because the parents complained about it being too dark, Warner Brothers initially wanted to go a more lighter route. But before this, Tim Burton, believe it or not, was still on board to make another Batman movie because
he was going to make it lighter.
He was going to make it lighter, but no, he was going to do different elements. Basically, the next film he was going to do, it was actually going to be. Here's the weird thing. The next film he was going to originally call Batman before the next one was called. He's going to call it Batman Continues, which to me, I'm not really too big on that title.
Yeah.
I would prefer a different title.
That's a cringy title.
Yeah, I'm not really too big on Batman. That just sounds just like Batman Returns. I'm just like, call it something else. Call it Batman 3 or something.
It's basically another form of word of returning.
Yeah. So, but anyway, the original idea that Tim Burton had in mind was that he was going to bring in, similar to the next one, he was going to bring in the Two-Face, the Riddler, and get this, he was also going to have Catwoman return because there were actually a lot more villains planned out for the next one until they decided to go with the other one. But the original cast they had in mind, this is where it gets to me. They were going to bring back Michael Keaton to return in the role, and they even had a suit that resembled kind of like a cross between the original Batman suits and the kind of one from Forever. So they kind of had a mix of both of them combined. Yeah, it looked pretty cool because they had a prototype for it. Yeah. They actually had Marlon Wayans originally to play to Robin in this one because they were going to have like a cram full of different characters and stuff.
Yeah,
they were going to have. Here's the weird thing: for Batman Returns, they originally wanted Marlon Wayans to play in Batman Returns, but unfortunately, due to last minute changes, because Tim Burton said it was too much of a cast, he said there were too many characters, so he scrapped that idea. So, but with Batman, but. The funny thing is, Marlon Wayans still got paid for not even playing Robin. It was a pay or play deal, basically, where even if he didn't get the role, he still got paid for it.
Okay,
so
that's weird.
Yeah, but basically, they were going to have originally Michael Keaton. Robin Williams was actually up for playing the Riddler.
I remember hearing. Yes, yeah. I do remember that.
Mm-hmm. They were going to have Robin Williams play the Riddler, and they were also going to have Billy D. Williams was supposed to come back in the next one as well as Two-Face.
Yep.
But they said that for this one, because he would have been full on. Because the original idea they had in mind with Bat Returns was that Max Schreck was supposed to be Two-Face, but in favor because Billy D. Williams only did a one-time movie. He didn't have a contract listed for the next Batman.
Yep.
So unfortunately, they scrapped the Two-Face character because originally in Batman Returns they were gonna have a scene where Two-Face was actually in like the background and he was flipping his coin, and that was gonna be Billy D. Williams. But they said that because they already had too many villains, they decided not to go with that. So instead, with this new one, they were gonna have Robin Williams play as Riddler. They were gonna get Rene Russo to play. They were still going to keep kind of elements from Batman Forever, but they were going to have Rene Russo play Dr. Chase Meridian, and they were also going to have Marlon Wayans as Robin. And basically, they also were going to bring back Catwoman in some way to try to continue the events of the last one with Michelle Pfeiffer. Yeah. Because they also plan on doing a spin-off for Catwoman, but that never got whales until about 2004 with that piece of shit Catwoman movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, Tim Burton was going to come back with it, and he was going to basically do an origin story because he wanted to do like kind of a Batman Year One where he wanted to tell the story about how Bruce Wayne actually developed who he was. And believe it or not, Michael Keaton was on board with that. He actually wanted to go with it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, due to some clashes between Warner Brothers and them having to go with the more lighter tone, unfortunately, Tim dropped out.
Yeah, Tim still said, I'll make it lighter, but it still has to have that dark element that's going to stand out from other films. And then Warner Brothers told him, no, we don't care. You're going to, whether it looks different or not, we're here to sell for kids, and that's how it's going to be. Tim Burton said, fuck you guys, I'm out.
Yeah, and here's the funny thing was that Michael Keaton was still scheduled to play Batman for the next one, Batman Forever. But unfortunately, he even said the script didn't really make sense because when they brought Joel Schumacher in to replace Tim Burton, they said that Michael Keaton looked at that script and he's like, that script I wasn't a fan of, and he didn't like the direction they were going with it because Tim Burton kept it all dark, and Schumacher was going to keep it more lighter and stuff.
Yeah.
And so, and even Schumacher was complaining, like, why is everything going to be so dark? We need to make it more lighter. So it was really Joel Schumacher's also idea to make it more lighter and give it that neon look that you see in Forever.
Yeah.
But now, after pretty much they ended up leaving, we ended up seeing that they ended up making the film, the one they would decide to go for a more family friendly approach and make it more like a comic book. So that's where we get into Batman Forever, which is directed by, this time, with Joel Schumacher, who had tremendous success before with movies like The Lost Boys, The Client, and things like that.
Yeah.
And he previously worked with Tommy Lee Jones on The Client. So
and this one replaces Val Kilmer, brings Val Kilmer replacing Michael Keaton.
Yeah. And we also have Jim Carrey playing the Riddler, and we also have this time Chris O'Donnell playing Robin,
and then Tommy Lee Jones
as Two-Face, and then you have Nicole Kidman as Chase Meridian.
Yep.
And basically, this film we deal with, we get a very different look at Gotham City. It's a lot more neon and a lot more colorful and everything.
A lot more. Yeah, neon, jumpy, ravey, kid-friendly, not
hip,
severe
basically.
hippie.
90s.
Not really too kid-friendly, but it's...
You call it the MTV look.
Yeah, but it was hippie-ish. Yeah, it was about hip of that era. That
90s.
We were leaving somewhat of the grunge, kind of, and we were getting more with during the grunge hours, we would also get that ravey neon.
Kind of like MTV.
Yeah, where people go to raves and do neons and stuff. So it was kind of like, not really, I would say, favored kids per se, but kids can go see it like I did.
Yeah.
But it was also to favor a lot of teenagers.
And believe it or not, this is actually the very first Batman film that I saw in the theater.
Not me. I forgot to mention, I saw Returns in theaters.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was my first, and then I saw the Mask of Phantasm I told you about.
Oh, you saw it in theaters?
Yeah, I told you when I was a kid.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I saw those two, so... Yeah.
And then, believe it or not, this was actually at our old
this is
theater.
my third movie.
This was my first one at the theater. And this is the first one that we saw this at the theater because I believe me and him probably would have been around the same time.
Yep.
We went to the theater, Phoenix Village Mall, here in our theater, and that used to be around here, but it's no longer here. We ended up going there, and
I remember my dad vividly because this is what happened. My dad took me to go see this movie. I'm a little kid.
Yeah.
My dad read the time wrong in the newspaper. My dad got the tickets, but he thought he didn't hear the guy say, all right, your movie will start in an hour or whatever.
Yeah.
An hour and a half. My dad didn't hear that part. He thought that the guy gave us tickets to go see it in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why we didn't get stopped, but back in the 90s, they didn't have really ushers as much blocking your way. So you were able back in the 90s to jump movies.
Yeah.
They didn't have guards or anything like that. Now, like today. And we went in and we walked into the part where Jim Carrey's like, hi, everybody, and welcome. And my dad was like, movie's already started?
That's weird. What the fuck?
Did we miss it? And then my dad looked at the tickets, and sure enough, it's already 30, 40 minutes in the movie. And he goes, oh, fuck. He goes, I got the tickets, so we're going to have to wait a little bit. So I went to that little merry-go-round thing they had in there.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
They had the little Ferris thing.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because it's weird because I didn't realize, it wasn't until years later, my mom actually remembered telling me that I saw Batman Forever at the theater there. And I was like, oh, wow. I was only 3 years old.
So I had to wait an hour and a half and go on these Ferris wheels and merry-go-rounds they had in this Phoenix Village Mall. It eventually died and turned into businesses.
Yeah.
Funny you worked there because it turned into Sykes.
Yeah, it turned into my job I work at.
But we walked and I was like, we walked and did whatever until the movie started. That was our time, and I went and saw it.
Oh, yeah. With this one, I could say, growing up, this was also the other film that I'll admit, when I was a kid, at the time, this was my favorite Batman movie because I was so into the animated series, and when I watched Forever, I was thinking to myself, like, you know what? Everything that I like about Batman, it's captured here.
Okay.
Even though I love Returns, I was like, I don't know, Forever just has so much vibe going.
I'm
when I was a kid, remember?
I'm more older than you, so I remember this vividly to tell the difference. I liked the movie, but I still had a hard time knowing that because I remember the first two vividly.
Yeah.
And I was thinking it was a reboot.
It kind of was, if you look at it.
Yeah.
It's still...
Like,
well,
I didn't even know what reboots was. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, this don't feel right.
Well, yeah, because it's a different look, for one.
Because I saw the other ones.
Yeah, it's a different look. And other than Commissioner Gordon and Alfred being played by the same actors, this really feels like it's a full-on reboot.
It does, and then I started thinking maybe it's a reboot, like a restart, which I learned on my own later on. But I still thought it was fun.
Yeah, growing up, I will say that even to this day, looking back on it, it's not great, but I still love it as a fun superhero film. Yeah, it's still fun.
All right, so but anyway,
in the story we have Two-Face, who's played by Tommy Lee Jones, and basically he's ended up. It starts out where he has he's robbing this bank and stuff, and Batman's there to take him to save the day and stuff like that. Already from the get-go, you can tell that with the way that the buildings and stuff they look like. Joel Schumacher was going for a weird kind of Greek mythology kind of look, kind of like what Burton did in Returns, but make it more colorful, and it's like
green, red,
and everything.
Glow in the dark.
Granted, I actually do like the colors in this because it really gives it that kind of vibe.
It is a fun, visually stunning film.
But anyway, we see Batman come in. This time we have Val Kilmer playing the role, and basically you have him trying to stop Two-Face, and I'll admit that I'm kind of hit and miss with Two-Face by Tommy Lee Jones. There's moments I enjoy with them, but I don't know how to describe his performance because it really feels like he's more like channeling Joker from the first movie.
Yeah, that was just about to tell you that his laugh, and he's like, ah! He is, now at the time, I mean, you could say that his performance looks like he's having fun.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. But because they were trying to make this a full-on comedy with him and Jim Carrey holding the comedy, they do make it look like it was fucking Joker.
That really could have been Joker, yeah.
Just redo Joker's face.
I mean, he has some moments where he's flipping the coin and he's he's saying us and stuff kind of like a Venom thing where he's got a split personality.
But it's only more straight roll. Though.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's rare, far in between. In this, it's just I don't know how to describe. I kind of like it, but at the same time, it doesn't work as the character of Two-Face. It really doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's kind of, I'm going to say in I'm not to compare. It's basically how they did with Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor.
Yes.
If he was playing Riddler, I could understand. But Tommy Lee Jones, he's playing fucking Two-Face.
He's playing Two-Face. It's 2 times, and I'll tell you right now, even what it said, I like Tommy Lee Jones way.
Oh, I do. Yes,
better.
Absolutely. Yes.
Because to me, I think that, and I'll get to the quick wrap up of that one. Fucking fest. Eisenberg, man, he fucked that role up.
Yeah, but anyway, we also, after he ends up failing getting a hold of taking care of Two-Face, what also threw me off too was that apparently this Gotham City looks like it resembles more New York because they actually have the Statue of Liberty say the Statue of Gotham or whatever. So it's okay, that's kind of cool. You made it kind of resemble more of New York.
Yeah.
But anyway, the story later deals where you have Bruce Wayne, who's going to see what the progress is with Edward Nygma's company that he works for and stuff, if the industry is working for. And Edward Nygma is played by Jim Carrey. And Jim Carrey, if you remember at the time, he was big because he came off the success of Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, and The Mask. So this was his second comic book film.
He's a 90s, one of the greatest 90s comedians.
And I'll tell you right now, he was one of the mailed fucking. He was that to me is another perfect casting.
I think that. I don't say I hate Tommy Lee Jones him. It's just more okay, it's just there, more than anything because I like Two-Face, but it was the wrong way of going with it, and he copied Joker. But I think if you didn't have Riddler's Jim Carrey, this film would have probably been a lot worse.
Yeah, because I'll admit, in the later half, not to go in place, but in the later half, when he's giving Two-Face shit, They actually do have some fun chemistry.
That's what I'm saying. I think that Tommy Lee Jones only survives with the chemistry
because he's trying to basically play the straight man kind of against Jim Carrey's shenanigans, but the reason why it doesn't work in a lot of scenes and certain points is because they're both acting like fucking goofballs.
Yeah, you have Two-Face. I mean, you're almost waiting for the little pop, zip, zip in the background.
From the original series.
Yeah, you're like the zip, pop, pop, the goofy fun.
Bam!
I thought that it was going to fucking start doing that, and I was like, yeah, this is, I mean, it was something that had to grow on me when I watched it.
But anyway, with Jim Carrey, though, because he's basically playing this guy who's trying to come up with this technology to basically have TV, like your brain become like television stuff. And Bruce Wayne kind of turns down the offer, saying, that doesn't seem like, that would work.
Remember that Edward Nygma was always obsessed with him, too.
Yeah, and here's the funny thing. His boss is actually played by... a descendant of my family. A distant relative of Eddie's.
Yes. Ed Begley Jr. is a distant relative of mine. I believe he is my third cousin.
Yeah.
Or my third uncle or some shit like that. I got to talk. A lot of my family actually hangs out with him and they meet up. And they actually, my great aunts are like very close to him where like not only does he show up for that, but he actually comes out and visits.
That's cool.
Yeah. He is my relative, Ed Begley Jr. He's in so many movies and TV shows.
Yeah. And
he's kind of playing Edward Nygma's dickhead boss. And
he's like, get back to work, Edward.
And then, he gets turned down by Bruce Wayne. And
then we get that...
he's also obsessed with Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And he actually is offended that Bruce Wayne turned him down.
Yeah, and so he starts to send him, like, riddles and stuff. Mm-hmm. And this is where, like, that part where he puts it on he sees his manager's like, Wayne Manor. Huh. And he puts the thing there, and then Bruce Wayne ends up looking at it, and he's like, I forgot how the riddle goes, but basically he ends up encountering Chase, who's basically also obsessed with Batman. So this movie kind of tackles a lot of things of obsession because I
can buy Riddler's obsession though.
Yeah, I like that.
Not off topic, just for a quick split second. The obsession of Electro Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2, I don't buy that.
Yeah.
I buy this.
I do too, because it actually works a lot of ways better. And in context-wise, it makes sense because, he actually works for Bruce Wayne in a way, basically.
Yeah.
And so, he ends up going to give him riddles and all that. And I will admit, this is another thing I have to talk about. I have a fascination with the soundtrack to this movie. Like, the first time we see Riddler's, like, Edward Nygma's apartment and stuff, it's got the, your bad days are way... You're sort of stuck at your job.
Well, anyways, Edward Nygma's like obsession gets to him, and his boss catches him at work.
Yeah, and then basically what it is that his boss catches him at work, and then he starts getting him on this machine where he starts seeing like all kinds of television shit. His mind's like going berserk. He's seeing like 3-dimensional stuff come to life with the
fish. The guy's fishing and stuff.
I'm sucking on your ring. Yeah,
and just fucking up, and then the thing kind of screws up, and basically the boss comes back to his senses, and he's like, "Oh, you're fired! You're fired, and I'm calling the police.
Yeah,
you're getting arrested for this." And then he does the thing where he captures him, ties him up, knocks him out, ties him up on this like chair. And there's this thing that this one and the next one does where they're on this big waterfall.
Yeah.
The company, like this place has a big waterfall.
Yeah, it's like over
coming out of the statue and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And then he grabs my distant relative and flings him out the window only to be held by like a cloth.
Yeah.
And then he goes, what was the line he said to him?
Ooh, nice form, but a little rough on the landing.
No, before he lets him go.
He's like,
he goes, me fired, or I forgot the lines he said.
You are fired, or should I say
terminated? And then lifts up the helmet, and then he falls to his death. Ooh.
He's like, surf's up, big bun, or whatever.
No, he's like, ooh, rough on the landing.
He's like, ooh, nice form, but a little rough on the landing.
Yeah. Dude, I'm sorry. I miss this Jim Carrey. Mm-hmm. Jim Carrey today, I'm not really fond of him no more, but
But this
Back
was classic
in the day,
Jim
yeah.
Carrey.
This is what I love about Jim Carrey.
But anyway, the rest of the story deals where Bruce Wayne is, trying to also get to know Nicole Kidman's character this time. And I'll admit, like, even growing up in this day, Nicole Kidman was pretty fucking hot in this movie.
She was fucking sexy in this movie.
Yeah.
And also...
we also have to. Basically, he ends up trying to get her to because she's a doctor in psychology, and basically he's trying to get her to understand what these riddles are talking about.
Yeah.
And while they also
you got the investigation the next day, whenever they hear that he died.
Yeah.
Edward Nygma sets it up as a suicide.
Yeah, that's what it was. He ends up getting the riddles from there,
and then Edward Nygma pretty much takes over this company.
Yeah, and then basically the rest of it deals with him and Nicole Kidman try to get to know her children and stuff, and then they end up going to the circus that takes place, which this is the part where we get introduced to
before we get to this part, I did like how Edward Nygma's trying to channel Bruce Wayne with the mole. Yeah. He's like all slick back like Bruce Wayne.
Well, that's later when we
get... Yeah, you are right about that, sir.
Yeah.
He goes, so what kind of genre do you like? Or some shit. He's just trying to sound rich and sophisticated. It's funny. He even put a fucking mole in the same spot.
Like, where's my mole?
He isn't Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. But, well, what's funny, the lead up to that is that Edward Nygma is trying to get Two-Face to help him out by basically stealing all kinds of stuff around Gotham while also trying to trick the people. Kind of similar to what they did with Batman Returns, where you had Penguin trying to work with Catwoman on certain stuff. Where they were stealing and then trying to take over, brainwash people. They were doing it this way, where Two-Face is trying to steal stuff, but also you have Edward Nygma trying to trick the people into all the brainwave stuff he was doing.
Yeah, but they go to this carnival thing, and this is where we're introduced to
Dick Grayson.
Yeah, Dick Grayson, the early Robin.
Yeah, and
he's got his mom and dad and family there, and he's part of a carnival.
Yeah, and this is
circus.
Not they end up going to the circus, and they end up seeing that Two-Face ends up coming there, taking control of calling the shots, and then that's the part where we see that Val Kilmer tries to is Bruce Wayne stands. He's like, Harvey, I'm Batman.
Yeah, because he says if somebody doesn't tell me about Batman in this few seconds, this bomb is gonna go off.
Yeah, so he has to save the bomb.
Yeah,
and then basically that's where we see that some shit goes down, and that's where we also see that Dick Grayson's family ends up getting killed because they end up falling off the wire after he's
screaming, but everybody's all like and he can't hear him. He's like, I'm Batman. And you don't even hear him. He's like, too late. And then, the bomb's about to go off, but then he starts shooting in the air, laughing.
Yeah.
And that, like you said, the Joker laughing and the fun, it's not Two-Face. It really doesn't fit the character.
I'll admit, when I was little, I did kind of like the makeup they did for him.
The makeup I kind of like.
I do kind of like, but I do feel it's a little too
purple.
It's a little too Pepto-Bismol.
Pepto-Bismol, and not with that, it looks like he borrowed half of fucking, all right, you ever see somebody gets in a wreck? They have to have skin grafts.
Yeah.
It looks like they took Ivan Ooze's butt cheeks. That's generally what it takes the meat out. And it slapped half his face is, Ivan Ooze. Because it's purple and got some, and then rubbed a little fucking gel on it. So it's like, it don't look like. It's like
but anyway, the rest of the movie deals with
he shoots up and kills Robin's face. This is emotional.
This is actually emotional. This is something I actually was like, okay, that's very tragic. Because if you notice this, because this movie, keep in mind, this was still produced by Tim Burton, so there are still some serious moments in the film to kind of still bring that kind of dark aspect. But it's downplayed in favor of the other stuff. Mm-hmm. But anyway, after that,
you see his family all dead, laying there.
They're laying there, and he's just he's in shock about it. And
Bruce Wayne actually takes Dick
Grayson in. And, well, at first he tries to bring him in, but then Dick Grayson was like leaving after that.
Yeah, he becomes like a rebel, and he gives up his circus life and everything.
Yeah, and basically. The rest of the film deals with Bruce Wayne trying to discover more about Edward Nygma, and this is where he's trying to get a hold of everyone in Gotham, saying, "I will make every television brainwaves from people, and you will be able to see that your mind is in television and stuff like that."
Yeah, and trying to convince them it's the new future and all that. And then, he's after Batman's after Two-Face, definitely after that incident.
Well, so is Robin. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, so is Dick Grayson. And then basically. We also see that it's in between these. We're seeing the love obsession that Nicole Kidman's character has, because there's actually a part where Batman ends up going to this. Edward Nygma holds this kind of ball thing that he holds, and it shows like all the neon colors and stuff. And that's where you were talking about before, where he's trying to dress up like Bruce Wayne and stuff like that. And he's got the mole. He's like, because he's working with Two-Face's girls that he works with and all that. He's like, how's my mole? And we actually got to, I didn't realize this until years later. Drew Barrymore plays one of the girls that Two-Face has.
We also didn't bring up the approach that Robin, how he approached Two-Face.
Yeah.
The first time where they meet.
Yeah. So with this one,
because they meet.
I forgot. How did that go again?
They showed up at one of them showed up at Riddler showed up, I believe, at his lair, because Two-Face has a lair where half of it's cold.
That's what I was saying earlier.
Fire,
yeah.
It's like a weird lair. It's a neat lair.
Well, that's what I was meant to say.
Like devil and angel.
When he's working to get, he tries to convince him and stuff. He's like, "Why don't I spill your brain's full of blood, green? Let's see if you bleed green." And basically,
he approaches him for an idea and stuff.
Yes, you can call me the Riddler.
Yeah,
and
this is when he cuts his hair and he wears the suit. We get the reveal of the suit.
Yeah, which I actually
question mark.
I would admit the costume design in this is pretty spot on. Like I actually really enjoy the way they went with this.
Yeah, I do too.
But anyway, yeah, the rest of it deals with Batman having to go after him and stuff, and on top of that, we get into kind of some darker elements with this, because we actually see flashbacks that show that Bruce Wayne is trying to confront his past as well. Because, again, like the first film, which they actually show like a brief image of Jack Napier from the first film, because it's like in the shadows and stuff when he shot his parents. So I like the idea that they were taking with this, because it was trying to show that why he actually is Batman again.
Yeah.
So I actually kind of like that. But here, the problem with that, though, is that it's a little far-fetched, because there were some scenes that they actually cut out from the theatrical version that you didn't see until later on DVD.
Because it was more darker. Way too dark.
Yeah, so because...
The part where he sees the bat.
Yeah, like there's a deleted scene where he ends up seeing this man-bat, and it actually shows that it shows why he actually is Batman.
It's a big giant bat flapping a real bat.
Mm-hmm.
Flapping, and then he's got his arms staying out. Like he's having these weird nightmares or something.
That's what I'm saying. So I really wish they could have kept those scenes in, because it would have gave us like a lot of
it approaches
layers.
Darkness.
Yeah.
Again.
So unfortunately, because Warner Brothers was like, no, that's too dark, so they cut it out in favor of the other shit.
Yeah.
So in the rest of it deals with Dick Grayson is actually trying to get himself training and stuff, and trying to do like all these like fights.
And stuff,
well, he's basically trying to get himself. He goes out actually. There's a part where he actually takes the Batmobile, he steals it, and he goes down and realizes.
Well, here's the thing: we didn't break. Well, doing that, you didn't talk about earlier about how Alfred takes him in.
Yeah, Alfred takes him in as basically like a father figure.
Yeah,
and
he didn't. Then he tells Bruce, I'm adopting. You were adopting him.
Yeah,
he lost his family like you.
Yeah, and actually, I like that they tackled this issue, because it really shows like he's got nowhere to go.
And Bruce Wayne didn't like the idea at first, because he wants to be that playboy by himself. Not to mention he's Batman. He's got to keep things secret. And then, but Alfred is pretty much pushy, and he's like, "No, we're taking him."
Yeah,
Master Wayne.
And then they take him in, and then that's when we see that.
And that's when he starts. Showing him torn around the mansion.
And he ends up going into the fucking Batcave. And
he found the Batcave because what he was doing, he's fucking around.
Yeah.
And he fell in the thing, and it said, intruding
alert. Yeah. And then we see Alfred just gives him that look like, huh?
He goes, you found it.
Yeah.
And then you see Batman's suit, and then he realizes, oh God, I live with Batman.
Yeah.
And he's all enthused. He's like, this is the coolest thing in my life and stuff.
And then after that,
he steals the
Batmobile, and he goes down the road, has a pimp mobile.
Yeah. I will say, I did like Chris O'Donnell playing Batman.
Yeah, I actually will admit, in Forever, he's really good. Yeah, I enjoy him.
He's fun, and getting to know him. He's got a kid by heart.
Yeah,
and stuff. And then he goes at Neon, where all those neon gangs are going.
Yeah, and you got all these pimps and stuff.
And he tries to take the image of Batman.
And he tries to pick out hookers. He's like, that's a bad boy.
He goes, oh yeah, because he goes. They're like, who are you? And he shows up, and he's trying to take the image of Batman. Yeah, because I'm Batman.
He's like,
you're a bad boy.
Yeah. And then he tries to get in a fight. Right. He's like, so I left my suit, all right?
Well, you got to think that Dick Grayson is also already known how to do karate and shit. For his carnival.
Well, that's another thing, too, because there's also another deleted scene that shows that he's actually training. He's actually, like, punching bags and stuff.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, we didn't get to see those scenes.
Yeah.
But anyway, he ends up trying to fight these other guys, and then that's when Batman actually comes in, and then
trying to save him
and stuff, and then we see that he's trying to punch Batman, blaming him for his family's death and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then that's when we pretty much get the scene where Bruce Wayne is telling him, like, you were getting yourself out of control. You almost got yourself killed. And he's like, just make me a partner. I need to go after Two-Face. And he's like, well, what's going to happen if you go after Two-Face and then you do this? Because he realized that revenge is not the key.
He did it to Joker.
The Joker,
though.
yeah. Yeah, but that's the thing, though. Like, well, because if this is supposed to be in continuity of the other two movies, why is either he's not wanting him to go through the same shit, or he's got a different moral? That's what I'm kind of throwing off.
Well, they didn't go elaborate on it. They should have said, I did it before, it's not worth it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because he knows how his parents got killed by a maniac and stuff.
Well, he knows, he understands it, but he killed the Joker, and he could have said, I don't want you going that path.
Yeah, so he's trying to protect him from going that route.
Yeah, he goes, I've done it before. They don't elaborate, which is another con I have on that, but Dick
anyway,
Grayson throws a little fit for a while and does his thing.
Yeah, and then we also see that there's been other scenes where
this is where Riddler's taking over Gotham now.
And then we get to the climax that takes place later where not the climax, I'm sorry. That later ball that they have where, where Bruce Wayne actually goes in to meet Edward Nygma there in person, this ball they have. And basically he ends up going to this kind of room where it's asking for his identity and stuff, because basically it can read your mind, so to speak. And so
he's trying to steal Bruce
Wayne.
Because he knows
mind.
something about him.
Yeah.
Something's weird about this guy. I think he's Batman.
Yeah. And then basically after that we get, the action part where the Two-Face comes in and stuff like that.
Well, before the climax part, it's on Halloween too, by the way, because there's that part where they go,
twinkle, before we get to that shit's funny, yeah. No, this is the part where we get to see Robin fully come into play, because while he was trying to take out Two-Face's guy, his suit pretty much almost got destroyed, and he turned. There's a part where he's fighting these Two-Face's guys, and then they end up. Two-Face like, why won't you just die? And then he tries to shoot him with that rocket launcher or whatever it was. He's in fire, and then there's a part where I think Batman falls into this thing where it's in gravel or whatever. Not gravel.
Yeah, it's what it is.
It's like sand or whatever.
It bears him. Yeah, it covers him up. And then next you you have that loud music playing.
And we see that Robin.
And Robin's wearing the original suit.
Yeah.
The one that from the
Graysons.
Back in the 60 one.
Yeah.
The yellow and red.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's
the original
right. He pulls him
one.
up. He's like, hi.
Hi. And he helps him, saves him.
Yeah. And then pretty much after that, we see that.
And then, he also bitches at him again. You want to get yourself killed?
That's the scene I was thinking of. Yeah, because so after that, that's
trying to join him.
He's trying to join him and stuff, and then he ends up leaving after that because
he's like, you can't. He goes, you don't know what I do for a living.
Yeah,
this is dangerous shit.
Yeah, and then we see that Edward Nygma and the Riddler and Two-Face find out that Batman's actually Bruce Wayne, because they're saying, riddle me this: what kind of a man has bats in his head?
Mm-hmm. And then he goes, it's Bruce Wayne. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that was funny because then it's around Halloween time.
Yeah.
And there's this part where they're going trick-or-treating, and then Alfred looks through his peephole and they're like, twinkle, twink! And it's Two-Face and Riddler.
Riddler wear a mask.
Yeah, wear a mask, and when they open it, Riddler knocks him out with his cane.
Yeah.
And then they fucking destroy
the house. Basically they knock Bruce Wayne's trying to, because that same scene
stealing all his shit too.
Well, Bruce Wayne is telling Nicole Kidman of who he is. He's like, and then she's like, I know who you are now, and everything. And basically she finds out who he is. And then basically Two-Face and Riddler, they end up taking over the house, and they end up destroying the Batcave, because they have that scene where Riddler goes in there and he's doing this thing it's like baseball. He's
got dip in his mouth.
Yeah.
And then boom, then goes boink, and he does his butt, and he's like he's farting.
Yeah. No, spank you very much.
Dude, I will say Jim Carrey.
Oh no, I'm sorry. He opens he's like, riddle me this: which door goes to the Batcave or whatever it is? And he opens the door. And he's like, spank me, like off Ace Ventura. Yeah. Yeah, and then he goes in there and destroys the Batcave, and then Two-Face is kind of flicking his fucking coin, which is really the only time we really see him, the only few times we actually see him do Two-Face shit, where he's flipping his coin. He's like, should I kill Bruce? Because he's thinking to say am I gonna kill Batman? Flip the coin.
And it says...
It keeps going to heads. He's like, haha. He's trying to make it go to tails.
Yeah, because the tails is yes, and he will. He goes, "Argh!" He keeps getting pissed.
Or no, it's supposed to be heads. That's supposed to be. And
yeah,
tails.
he keeps going tails. He's like, "Argh!" And he does that. He's like, fuck it. Yeah!
Yeah. And then he ends up shooting Bruce Wayne right there, and he's like, haha. He's like, don't kill him. If you kill him, you won't learn nothing. And then they leave him a riddle there. Like, yeah. So they end up leaving. And then this was actually supposed to lead into a later scene where Bruce Wayne actually woke up, and it was supposed to go that delete scene we were talking about earlier, where he sees the Man-Bat, and that finally confronts the actual fear that of himself of becoming Batman. Yep. Basically, it was supposed to actually show why he became who he was.
So
then we basically lead to the final climax.
Well, before we get there, this is like now, Alfred's fine. He's all right. Had a bump on his head. He's been taken care of. And basically, Dick Grayson comes up to him and says, "You need a partner. Yeah, you need your partner. We need a partner." And then he's like, he goes, "Well, that's where he shows up in the suit. Alfred made him a suit, and he didn't know about it. He goes, "Who are you?
What does that stand for?"
Robin. And I figured that we could take this on together, and then that's when Batman says yes.
The bat boat, which I'll admit to, this bat boat that he had, I had that as a kid. Mm-hmm. He had the bat boats that Robin drives, and then the bat plane that Batman drives.
I used to have also the one where the Batmobile with the blue.
Yeah, I love that shit. That actually had, with the neon lights and the colors. I used to have that going.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah. And then basically we get to the final climax where it's on an island. We have Edward Nygma's...
It's this big giant question mark.
Which is very reminiscent
He's sucking all their brains through the TV.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like a layer you would see from the original TV series. Yeah. Because they used to have a lot of like villain layers back then. But anyway, they go there. They're planning to go there. And because Edward Nygma's plan is to basically brainwash the entire world.
Here, before we continue, we did leave something out. The backstory of Two-Face, how he's a lawyer.
Oh, yes.
And Batman kicked the acid over his face. Yeah. Which created why Two-Face created Two-Face, but why Two-Face has a grudge towards Batman. Yeah. Because he's actually a successful lawyer.
Which,
that's kind of a crooked lawyer or some shit.
That's kind of a plot hole because, first of all, I'm kind of thinking like, why the fuck would Batman be in the daytime? Because you gotta think, this is a court case.
Yeah, he's running in the court.
I'm like, what the fuck?
He's trying to save somebody. Yeah. And Two-Face is supposedly a good guy, actually, a good lawyer.
Yeah, he was a lawyer trying to defend him.
And then he was trying to save him, but then accidentally kicked a whole thing of acid on accident, which created Two-Face to become mean. Yeah. That made him mean, and I hate you now. I mean, I would hate you too for doing it, but... I mean, you're stretching there when you go from lawyer to terrorism. Yeah. For that. I'm sorry. That's just cop-out.
But what throws me off is I'm like, okay, I know that Batman was in the daytime in the original TV series, but you're supposed to kind of go with the dark approach. Why the fuck would Batman be there in the daytime? Yeah. Did nobody see Batman in that court scene? I'm like, so he just happened to be sitting there and be like, all right, I know he's going to do something, so let's see. He ends up going after the dude right there. While he's waiting in court.
So Batman and Robin show up at the lair.
Yeah. And this time, Batman has a new suit that he wears, which I'll admit...
Oh, they have Nicole Kidman at this time.
Yeah, they kidnapped Nicole Kidman.
And put her under that thing where she can fall on acid. Yeah. Oh, no, Robin gets captured, too.
Well, this is later, yeah. So basically... they get new suits because they actually...
Oh, no, this is where they're playing battleships. Yeah. Because they know they're coming.
A-14. You sunk my battleship. Yes. Fucking love that.
Yeah. And the one that they sink is actually hitting Robin. He falls into the ocean, and he's captured. And basically, Batman is able to get around and beat it and get through. And this is around the time where he comes in, and Two-Face and Riddler are like, at this one thing. You got Robin hanging on one thing, and the girl went in one thing. And then they open one where it has spikes and everything. Yeah. And another one that's got acid.
Yeah. And because basically the lead up to that is that Batman
must pick.
Choose. But before that,
and they use that in the other one.
I'm sorry, Robin is fighting off Two-Face pretty good in the first, before the lead up to that, and then Two-Face ends up taking him hostage and ends up putting him in there. Yeah. And then he's like, good boy, all right, now let's go here. Yeah. And so Batman has to choose, and then he's like, I choose, or he's given Riddler a riddle and stuff like that, and he throws his little bat ring or whatever, and he ends up destroying the thing where Riddler is.
Yeah, and it's fries his brains.
Yeah, he's like,
his head starts doing these weird fucking things, and then he's saving them, and Rob this is what confused me at first. This is what threw me off. They two got their own little holes they're flying in.
Yeah.
But then they suddenly are in the same hole. That kind of confused me.
Well, wait,
the part where he's shooting,
or was it just one?
There was two separate ones when you look up in the air, but then whenever they're falling down, they're in the same hole. I'm like,
did they go to the same place?
That does not make any sense when you vividly show us they each got their own holes.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
well, he shoots because what it is he goes, would it be the Batman's best friend or whatever, or the captain, or his girl to be?
Yeah.
And then he he's like so and so, and then that's when he did the spikes.
Yeah.
And then they're all falling.
Yeah.
And then he saves, and this is where Two-Face falls with them. You don't see it, and he saves the girl. She's hanging, and is he's holding on, but then Robin is holding on, dangling right here, while Batman's holding one thing.
Yeah.
And then that's where Tommy Lee Jones comes. He's standing on that thing,
and then
he's like, "Hey!"
He's like,
"Yeah."
He's like, "Well, why do this, Harvey?" He's like, "You're very right, Bruce." He's like, "But you've been such a wonderful friend." And then he flips his coin and then Batman throws the coins right there. He's like, "No,
no!" He's like, "Which one's mine?" And he fucking falls to his death.
Yeah, he's like, "Ah!" And then Robin's like in awe, like, "Oh shit, I didn't have to kill him."
Yeah,
and so it pretty much goes to where Batman goes to Edward Nimoy, and he's like, "Why can't I kill you?"
He's the only one that goes to Arkham out of all these movies.
I know. I'm like, that's weird. But
he goes to Arkham.
But anyway, he ends up telling him like why he is Batman. He's like, I don't. He's like, not because I have to be, but it's because I choose to be. And then it shows the image of the bat. He's like, and then he ends up going to Arkham, and that's when we get that scene where toward the end where we see Nicole Kidman goes to visit him. He's like, "Edward, who is Batman?" And then he's like,
I'm Batman. It takes off his suit thing, yeah. And he went nuts, and
and then we see that she ends up leaving with Bruce, and he's like, "Your secret is safe." He doesn't, because Edward Nimoy knew who he was, so now he's gone nuts. He's not gonna remember.
Yeah. So, well, they're gonna think that he's lying too, because he's a nutso.
Yeah. So overall, like, this movie, given for what it is, it's not a great movie, but it's basically, well, look at this. Is it fun? Yeah.
Yes.
It is definitely entertaining. I consider it kind of like on the level of, say, Venom. Now, in like a kind of a good way. Like, basically...
Yes. It is fun, but on a story standpoint, it is a step down.
Yeah. Especially the first two.
Yes.
I mean, as a Batman movie, it's fun.
Because you got to think, we got 3 great Batman movies in theaters. We ended up getting Batman Returns, and Mask of Phantasm. Yeah. This is the first time it was just we were kind of walked out like, oh, man, that's kind of a step.
I can say, like, it really depends on who you ask, too, because if you're one of those guys that likes the dark and kind of brooding Batman, this probably, like, is some of the, like, later ones, this probably is the movie for you. But if you like kind of the more fun Batman that, is like regular superhero movies, yeah, it works.
And here's the thing. After watching this... we know this is little do we know, this is the first sign of we should be worried.
Yes.
And we'll get to that in a second. Later. But I'm going to give this an average Joe.
Me, because I have like a lot of, not because of just nostalgia, but because looking back on it, I have like so much like, I like, not just from the fun standpoint, but from the story that they were going for. I don't know, like,
I'm average.
I'm kind of like high average because there's still some parts of the story I got into.
Yeah, I'm still average Joe, but it's still good.
Yeah, I mean it's not a great, but it's not bad either. Yeah. So if I have like any,
we did the other.
Okay. So overall, like there's stuff I enjoy. I enjoy the look of Batman Forever, and I also enjoy like
I love the neon look.
The neon look. I think
Jim Carrey. To me, I felt like steals the role. Yeah,
he
steals the role.
Yeah. And to what it's given, I enjoy Val Kilmer's performance as Batman, not so much as Bruce Wayne, but I still like him as Batman.
He is a decent Batman. not so much as a Bruce Wayne. He doesn't have the sophistication that the others had.
He kind of likes a little bit of charisma compared to say Keaton does, but he still brings us all what he does.
He's doable, and believe it or not, way better than what we're about to talk about.
Yeah, but anyway,
and he's a famous actor too, like an A-lister, which blew me away that he's that bad. But anyways, Val Kilmer's definitely wasn't the greatest, but he was just good. There and gone.
And Chris O'Donnell was good as
Chris O'Donnell nailed Robin.
I mean, there were some points where he can get a little annoying at parts, but not to an extent like the next piece of shit.
I think writing has a lot to do with that too.
Yeah, because I actually really got into his character. Yeah. But anyway, Tommy Lee Jones, like I said, I'm kind of mixed. There's things I like about him, but
Tommy Lee Jones wasn't it wasn't horrible.
It's perfect casting. It's just that
he went with the character
with the opposite approach.
Yeah, his approach to this character was way off than I don't know what he was thinking, because he should have known, can't channel Joker. What the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, he could have brought a dark fucking Two-Face.
Yeah.
But also, I do like...
a lot of that, though, has a lot to do with they were making this a kid movie.
Yeah, because
Tim Burton should have been the one that did the Two-Face.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And also, I will say that it lacks a lot in parts, like we said, with the story, because of how tonally weird it seems. Yeah. Like the way it's trying to go with the goofy shit going on, but also the kind of dark angle they try to take. But for what it's given, it's still an entertaining film.
Yeah.
So now, after this one came out, we get a film where they end up rushing right after this, because believe it or not, Batman Forever skyrocketed the box office like it usually does, and was showing that kids can now go see Batman. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? Warner Brothers was basically on the idea that because kids want to sell toys and stuff, they're like, all right, you know what? Instead of making an actual movie, let's make it to where it's just a toy commercial in the next one. Yep. So the next one, we get Joe Schumacher coming back. And with the movie that skyrocketed, well, this was the first film I saw the drive-in when I was little, or one of the second one I saw the drive-in, which was Batman and Robin.
Oh my God.
The film that to me was
rushed. Why did they replace? Getting the backstory of that.
With that one, they were going to bring Val Kilmer back for the next one, but there was some stuff going on where Val Kilmer, believe it or not, didn't get along with the director of Joel Schumacher.
No, this is around when they did Island Dr. Moreau.
Yeah, Dr. Moreau and all that shit.
This is when he was fucking on drugs.
Yeah,
bad.
And his ego really got out of control around this time. And also, I believe he said himself, I believe in an interview, he actually had conflicts with The Saint, because the same year he was doing The Saint that year. In 1997.
Well, his drug use was getting notoriety because the director that worked on Island Dr. Moreau said that there was days they couldn't shoot because he would be so coked out that he'd be drooling in his sleep. And just like, fuck you, and then sucker punching employees on the thing. They said, this motherfucker can't. And then they told people, Hollywood started catching on and got word of mouth, and they're like, we don't want that motherfucker in representing kids.
Well, yeah, but it was implied from the media that the reason why he turned down the role for the next one.
Yeah. I didn't know he turned it down. I was told
I think
he pretty
did.
much pushed
I heard
out.
that it was actually he was working on The Saint at the time. Yeah. Because The Saint came out.
I don't know. I heard that also.
But it was also a combination of that, and he didn't get along with director Joe
They
Schumacher.
said, they want to market it as a toy thing, and his reputation, all the parents were watching it on the news.
He kind of made the right choice, because honestly, his Batman probably wouldn't have worked in this level. Yeah. But anyway, we'll get to that here.
Yeah, Batman and
Robin, this time they have George Clooney replacing Val Kilmer, which I'll admit, interesting choice as far as Bruce Wayne, but we'll get into
George Clooney, the most noticeable actor of all time.
Yeah.
Playboy,
But Batman, that's on a different level we'll get to later. But anyway, this time, I'll admit, the first time I saw this film, I was at the drive-in. I had the toys already playing because I saw the previews. I was like, Mom, when you go to the store, I want to go get one of those action figures. And so
this also brings Chris O'Donnell back as Robin, and we get Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze,
and Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy. And also, we forgot to mention Bane's also in this too, which we won't.
Wrestler Bane.
Yeah.
the Mexican wrestler, Nacho Libre.
Yeah.
Nacho Libre.
Yeah. And we also have, among others, and this one, Alicia Silverstone also is Batgirl in this. And basically, this was in 1997, And this was the first Batman film I watched at the drive-in. And I'll admit, when I was little,
Yeah, I watched this in
when I was little, I liked it, but then growing up, I started to slowly become hated,
Yeah.
and hated every time I started watching it again.
I don't say I probably liked it probably more than you did. I wouldn't say that, but I thought it was doable. I was questioning because I was still young. I was like, why do they keep replacing Batmans every movie?
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck?
What the fuck's going on? Is these all reboots?
Yeah.
And I was like, but there's that same Robin.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe Nicole Kidman was in this one. No, she didn't come back to play that character again.
No, they got rid of her.
Yeah, they got rid of her. I thought she played for some reason. Okay, yeah. And then I'm like, okay, something's weird. And then, this is around when Arnold was badass.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, Mr. Freeze, Arnold, fuck yeah.
And he's top billing, much like Jack Nicholson was in the original. Because he's actually, his name is like over all the rest of them.
Yeah.
But anyway, I can admit, like, growing up, after seeing it, like, recently, and yes, I agree with everyone, this is the absolute worst live-action Batman.
Batman, yes, it is.
So,
The
where the fuck do we start with this? The beginning, we start where we're already in trouble, because the opening scene, well, minus the credits, because the credits are actually kind of light, because it shows the logo turn into ice and shit.
Yeah.
Kind of gives you, like, okay, that's kind of cool. Goes into, like, the kind of neon.
Hopefully it's going to be dark, and it's not.
And then it goes into the moments, the very first opening scene, we see Batman and Robin suiting up, and we get ass shots of them. Like, actually, it shows their ass in their gear and stuff. I'm like, oh, God. And already from the start, we get now, it was in the last movie, but they really overdid this shit. We had fucking bat nipples on this.
Yeah.
And
then George Clooney as Batman in that suit, just, to me, this is where I started getting cringy.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, this is, what the fuck, man?
We have it already started.
I mean, I'll give Val Kilmer more credit.
Yeah, because
the suit.
Already from the start, we get an approach of our Batmobile, and this fucking Batmobile looks weird.
Oh, I know, dude.
I was like, what the fuck is that?
This is like where you can tell as the movie gets along, more toys. It is going to be a toy commercial.
Yeah. And so we see that the Batmobile comes up, and we see, Robin's like, I want a car. Chicks love the car. And then this is the very first time that we actually hear Batman actually mention Superman. He's like, this is why Superman works alone. And already from the get-go, you can tell that Batman, George Clooney, does not have any type of voice for Batman. Yeah. You know how Batman usually has like a voice where, he kind of hides his identity and stuff?
Yeah.
You could have told me George Clooney just fucking was like, I'm Batman.
Not only that, George Clooney, he was the only first-time person that wore a Batman suit that if you look at the mouthpiece part, you can literally say, oh, that's Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
If you were in real life, if
he
you're a villain,
have the chin.
He doesn't have, the way his face is, it's a structure. There's also, like, something that, like, kind of a mark, his personal, George Clooney has, like, a pimple or something. I'm like, well, I could put two to two together. Fucking ain't gonna take a rocket scientist.
Yeah.
You picked the wrong motherfucker. That motherfucker's got a noticeable mole pimple right there.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
And it shows on a mask, and then you go and see him at the Bruce Wayne party. Oh, it's all the mystery.
Yeah. But anyway, already from the get-go, we're seeing that we get introduced to Mr. Freeze, who's played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. And the very moment we see him, we were in trouble because every single line that this motherfucker says is something related to the cold. He's like,
I get that he's Mr. Freeze, and I can get if they did a couple times, but every fucking line, he's like, it's gonna get cold in here.
He's like, what killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. He's like, chill. Oh my God.
I will say the only thing I liked about it was he looked cool.
I like his suit.
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of cool.
I liked how he shot the ice.
Yeah,
some of the
good. Yeah, there's good effects. Yeah. Taking on what's worth, there at least shows that there's unintentional humor, at least from the way he's saying those lines.
I'm not going to bash him for having fun, because it does look like he's having fun.
Yeah.
But, oh my God, this is cringy as this movie gets along, man.
Yeah, it is.
The only thing I'll tell you I got really good out of this was Uma Thurman with redhead Poison Ivy was fucking sexy.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she was hot.
She was. But with
Oh, it's going over.
but anyway,
Yeah.
but going into that, Arnold's Mr. Freeze is trying to steal this diamond because he's trying to collect diamonds to put together this
In a reactor.
in a reactor to try to save his wife, who's been having some kind of disease, which is very akin to the cartoon series, but done fucking poorly because we'll get to this shit later. Basically, the opening scene is very reminiscent out of the fucking TV series where you have Batman and Robin having skates on their fucking shoes. All of a sudden, I'm like, when the fuck would Batman need that?
So a poor man's version of trying to be like
Inspector
60s,
Gadget
in the 60s where they were Inspector Gadget, Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
That's something that fucking Adam West would have done.
Even at that, it still fails because...
That's what I'm saying. It fails miserably in this one.
Because even if it was meant to be a parody of that, it still doesn't work.
It doesn't, because I don't even like the Batman and Robin, the look of them. I don't even like George Clooney's acting in this. So it's already fucking ruined.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And the approach of the movie just isn't... It feels like a poor man's crackhead version of the newer entries of Batman.
Yeah, but also we have Batman and Robin trying to take down Mr. Freeze's goons and stuff.
Yeah.
And it is... I'm halfway... While I'm watching this, I'm like, what? Where are the little boops and the bumps from the TV series? Because this is really what it is.
Yeah, it's failing to know that it's satire. Or not satire. It's failing to know that it's
a comedy.
On the like the cheesiness, the what we called it earlier, we called the Adam West campy. It doesn't realize it's campy. That's the problem.
Yeah.
This one really thought it was making a legit
movie, yeah.
But it was acting campy, but all the actors are unaware they're acting campy.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh my god.
But also it doesn't help that also here's a weird shit. We have the laws of physics don't work at this either because we have a scene where Robin is like using that little pole thing. He ends up jumping like high in the air and then he ends up like falling down. I'm like, it's kind of weird. And then we have a later scene where fucking Mr. Freeze like in this weird rocket ship that goes in the air, and then Batman and them are trying to climb on it and stuff. They end up leaving using because it's about to explode. They end up taking the things off these doors, and it turns into fucking like snowboarding, like they're like these boards they use.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck?
It shoots down and then it creates a ramp for them. Like, the fuck is going on here?
And then they end up getting down, and they end up going to track Mr. Freeze down in this frozen area. He ends up freezing Robin, and then that's when we see that he ends up escaping. He's like, "What will you do? Chase the villain or save the boy?" Ha! And then he ends up leaving, and he ends up thawing him out and stuff, and then they end up leaving.
And it's weird because Two-Face, it wasn't until later entries that actually don't even build up on their fucking villains. They just abruptly start the movie and credits, and they're already fighting a fucking villain. That's what made me kind of not really care for 3 and 4 the worst. It's because of that. I'm like, yeah, that's back to back they do that.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. And then we pretty much see that they end up getting back to the Wayne Manor, and they're seeing the security footage that's showing Mr. Freeze, trying to... He ends up getting into this experiment that caused him to turn to freeze and all that. Which, keep in mind, I like the idea that they probably could have went with that because... We'll get to this later. There's a later film that came out the year after this that did that perfectly, I thought. They did it poorly because they have scenes where Mr. Freeze is like having this weird fucking lair, which is fucking obvious because it's supposed to be a secret lair, but it's this kind of like ice thing that's called like ice cream or whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, people would fucking find that easily in Gotham. It sticks right there. He's right there.
I know. The stupidity of people. It's like idiocracy or whatever you call it. It's like, oh my god,
he would fucking be there. But anyway, he has these goons like basically like tuning out to this weird like kind of
and they're dressed up like furry looking things, aren't they? Yeah.
And they're singing along with him to this fucking like cartoon thing that they're watching, that Rankin Bass special they did. That I'm Mr. White Christmas, I'm Mr. Stowe. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah. Well, while this is going on, Alfred has a granddaughter.
Yeah, well, before we get to that, we also see that throughout the film, Alfred is pretty much because these are actually the moments I kind of like.
Yeah.
when they're reviewing the stuff with Mr. Freeze, we notice that Alfred's kind of like his health is kind of going down. He's talking to Bruce Wayne about like his past and stuff. And I'll admit, given for what it's worth, these are the only scenes I kind of like.
Yeah.
The scenes where it's Bruce and Alfred like talking together, kind of serious moments.
Yeah, I do too.
Those are the only scenes I kind of like because they actually feel like Batman. They actually feel like, okay, you got kind of hints of what the other films were like in that way, but the tone just doesn't work because you have immediately fallen scenes that are so fucking stupid after that. But the scenes where it shows like where Bruce Wayne is talking to Alfred about like his past and stuff, and he looks out the window and he sees like the reminiscence of his parents' death. I'll admit, like those scenes I actually like Clooney in. He actually shows that he shows the Bruce Wayne that I kind of like.
Yeah.
But anyway,
too bad it's only short-lived.
I know. I wish it could have had more of that. But anyway, we later now introduced to Poison Ivy this time, who is Pamela Isley, who's in like this weird Amazon place, and already
it's a zoo kind of thing, a plant
kind of place where she's working for this doctor, and secretly this doctor is trying to make this ultimate creation by using this guy who's like this convict and turn him into like this super genetic kind of like strength dude,
which is
like
Bane.
to sell it off, which is Bane, and they try to sell it off to these people. And
they're selling it like under the market, kind of like when Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. They're going under like Russians and the mob, Chinese mob, and all them want to buy superhuman people. But this one lacks any kind of backstory.
That's what I'm saying. Just
like I said, abruptly show up.
They just abruptly pop out of nowhere, and then they see Bane, right? This dude turn into it, and he gets like the.
Well, he's wearing a fucking Nacho Libre mask, and he's like this guy. You remember how in Captain America: First Avenger, how he starts out in the movie where he's itty bitty, like
scrawny.
Yeah, scrawny, weighs maybe 80 pounds. That's what they do with this Bane. He's a little guy wearing a Nacho Libre suit, and they're trying all these tests, and things are on and off, and stuff, and then, trying to create the liquid that will turn him into Bane.
Yeah.
The only thing I will give him credit on,
they got kind of the
liquid.
The liquid thing. Okay, yeah, that's the only thing from the comics they incorporated was that from the Venom stuff that he uses is from the comics.
But really, Bane is pointless in this.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get to this shit later because when you have him saying lines like "monkey work,"
they made him retarded.
They made him like he was a fucking
a retard.
Yeah. I'm like, what the
fuck? You fucking what do you call it? Is it gonna be like I need some French fries.
Sling Blade.
Goddamn Sling Blade. That's what he fucking Sling Blade. Sling Bane.
Yeah, Sling Bane. Yeah, we have. But while this is going on, we see that Pamela Isley ends up getting killed by the doctor, which, keep in mind, that dude that we were discussing, that's the dude from the Gremlins 2. Remember?
Yeah.
And he ends up saying, well, I'm afraid you'll have to die. And then he pushes her, and I'm like, God, this movie is so fucking cringy. Like, already from the get-go, the way, Uma Thurman's performance, I don't know what the fuck is up with her.
He pushes her and all that Poison Ivy stuff.
Well, and during this Uma Thurman's performance, she's saying her lines like she's out of like a fucking, like kind of a
you know what they did, right?
Kind of
unoriginal. They did fucking Selena Kyle again in that, where they kill the woman.
Yeah,
she becomes the fucking thing. Unwritten fucking.
The difference is she got her vents pretty fast after that because she ends up killing her, and then she comes back with plans like, my skin is all like toxic and everything.
I will tell you right now, she is smoking.
Yeah, she is. Although,
God, them lips on her. My God, I can make out with her ass.
He's like, and feel my lips with venom. Yeah. And he's like, ugh, and then he dies from poison.
Yeah.
So she ends up burning the place down, and then they actually show this same shot where Bane gets up and he's doing Bane, and it's literally the same exact shot from her.
All the chemicals going in, he becomes like that. He looks rubbery looking like a motherfucker. This shit is just cringy at this point.
Then the rest of it deals where Barbara, who's played by Alicia Silverstone, comes to visit Alfred. And here's another thing they fucked up on. Okay. Already from the get-go, it seems like they lost any credibility of trying to follow the comics or anything from Batman. Alicia Silverstone comes in to play Barbara Gordon. I'm sorry. Barbara
Penny.
Well, she's related to Alfred. Yeah. In this version, we have Barbara related to Alfred as her niece.
Great niece, yeah.
Two problems. One, why the fuck did you not make her Barbara Gordon from the comics, where she was the daughter of the police chief of Commissioner? Because throughout the films, we're seeing that Commissioner Gordon's working with Batman.
Yeah.
That would have been a perfect opportunity to bring in her daughter.
Why should it be related to Alfred?
Well, two, she don't even have a fucking...
Bruce Wayne would have known all his history. Alfred's been part of his family forever.
Who
the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Oh, what the fuck?
And 3,
yeah.
Okay, tell me how because she's been around in Europe for a long time, like, studying. If she's related to Alfred, why the fuck don't she have a British accent? That's kind of weird.
Well, not only this, here's another fuck up right here. This is another fuck up. They have to make this girl more like fucking Chris O'Donnell, the girl version, because she's literally a carbon copy of him. Because she shows up in a leather jacket, a motorcycle like him. I thought.
No, she showed up in a student uniform.
Oh, student uniform.
That's later. She tries to be like.
Okay, that's
Dick
what
Grayson.
it was. I haven't seen it in so long. I couldn't remember if it was that. I was like, damn. It's like, your characters are carboning other people now.
Well, yeah, because throughout the rest of the film, she's trying to get into street races and stuff, which is to show how tough she is.
Oh, wait. Time out. There's a lot of fucking side shit going on where Robin starts neglecting his job.
Yeah. Well, he starts questioning Bruce Wayne. Now, this is the problem I have right here from the get-go. Yeah. I like Chris O'Donnell's performance in Forever because it actually had a good character arc with him.
Yeah.
Here, he is literally on fucking, he's on... he reminds me of that fucking dude from remember Teenage Mutant Turtles Out of the Shadows, that fucking dude look like Chris O'Donnell where he's bitching and moaning the whole time. He's on that level of performance. He is so fucking annoying, and I just wanted to be on the screen just bitch slap him.
All right, he's already had his fights with Bruce Wayne and
Forever,
and he's supposed to game where that's what he does. He loves what he's doing.
Yeah.
Now he's going backpedaling because now he's falling in love.
Yeah, because
he's not showing up.
He's obsessed with Poison Ivy and stuff, and he's like, you just couldn't stand it and all this.
Well,
and
he
all
also Alicia Silverstone. He kind of had a thing for her.
Well, yeah, that too. But also, it's most of the dialogue between him and Bruce Wayne is that because he's kind of getting brainwashed by Poison Ivy, and stuff. It's him bitching back and forth over shit that's so stupid. And it's like, dude,
it does feel like Adam West.
I know. Well, no, not even that level, because even that Robin wouldn't be bitching and complaining the whole time.
I know, but the whole brainwashing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that really fucking is like nails on a chalkboard. Then we hit the other subplots that go on where Bruce Wayne is going to these different auctions and stuff, which, like I said, George Clooney has the look of Bruce Wayne as the playboy kind of look. It's just that they don't really develop much of his character as far as Bruce Wayne because we don't really see much with him.
Yeah, they do.
Because he's sidelined by all the bullshit going on with the villains.
Yeah,
but
anyway, they just want him to sell the Batman toy.
Yeah,
that's all they care.
But anyway, the weird fuck up is later on when we get to see that they have this weird kind of auction they do because now Batman, who's known for going out in the night and fight crime and stuff. We have the part where it actually kind of kills the mood, where you have them going, Batman and Robin are going there to this kind of ball that they're holding for offering women and stuff, kind of doing deals and everything. And I'm like, why the fuck would Batman show up to that? But now they do say in context that it was basically to bait Phreeks because they know that Phreeks is trying to get after the diamond there.
Yeah.
But Batman would never do that shit. He would never go in public to show himself, unless if someone was in danger.
Yeah.
But anyway, besides that, they end up going there, and this is when we get to see Poison Ivy show her full actual sexiness. This is the part where we get to see her.
God, dude, yeah.
I'm distracted because when I'm watching the film, this is the part where we get to see her introduction where she has the kind of monkey uniform. She takes it off and she's got the fucking green suit and stuff.
The green sparkly eye.
I'm like,
wow.
Damn it, Uma Thurman.
Yeah.
If I didn't think you were so sexy,
I'm
so distracted.
I will give him the movie this. It's believable on that because she's too sexy to turn away, man.
Yeah.
I will give him that's brainwashing.
Okay, I'll admit, in this scene, they do capture the look of Poison Ivy here because she's wearing all green and she has the red hair and stuff.
Yeah.
That's the perfect look for Poison Ivy.
Yeah.
So she ends up coming down and everything, and she And this is the stupidest fucking thing we see where Batman is trying to, try to buy her and stuff. And he's like, 7 million. And he pulls out a fucking credit card, says Batman Forever. I'm like, oh my, or it says expires forever.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God.
Trying to be ding ding.
Yeah.
And he's got the pearly white teeth smiling. I'm like, oh my God, this is fucking cringy.
Oh my God.
And now he's getting like, I want her. No, I get her. No, I get her. This is Adam Westy, but worse. Yeah. But it's on that style now. And it's not even recognizing itself as that.
And then Mr. Phreeks comes in, he breaks it up and goes, all right, everyone, chill. And I'm like, it's kind of funny, because, I mean, it's unintentionally hilarious, but I'm like, I don't know, no, not even from a funny standpoint, it just can't work. In some aspects it does, but anyway. He ends up freezing everybody, and then they go after...
Well, he talks to Poison Ivy.
Yeah, he's talking to Poison Ivy. He's like, clever girl, or whatever it is, and he's like, oh, and then a dude falls, and he takes the diamonds off her, and then this dude actually falls down. He's like, oh, there's my exit cue. Mm-hmm. He's like, and then he ends up leaving, and they end up going after him. They have this chase sequence that takes place, and this is where, on a filmmaking aspect, I kind of like this shot, because it shows like them going off of this kind of like statues that they're going on, that they're going on the highway in. It on a technical standpoint, I kind of like it, but this is where pretty much, Robin ends up getting his car, like his motorbike, actually crashing, because Batman has this thing where he ends up having him not follow him and stuff, and he ends up capturing Mr. Freeze, and he ends up putting him in Arkham. And it's, what's the irony was that so far, these are the only films, well, besides Batman Begins, that we see actually Arkham Asylum take place most of the time.
Yeah, I know, man. We didn't really see much of it, other than the very dead end.
Forever. And also in a little bit of Batman
But you actually get to see it say Asylum and all that in this one.
And here's a funny thing, was that, because they keep Mr. Freeze in this kind of like cold area that he's at, and here's the funny thing. One of the guards is played by Jesse Ventura, who him and Arnold worked together on Predator. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's kind of a weird
situation. Oh, you remember we get to see the thing where the backstory with his girlfriend, his wife?
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Cause, we said that earlier, where there are other scenes. There's actually one scene I kind of like from Mr. Freeze that Arnold does kind of use. It's a scene where he's watching the footage of his wife when they were together. He cries. It actually, I do kind of like it.
I do like that.
I will say, if they would have went with more of that serious angle, Arnold probably could have done better.
Yeah.
Like, he probably...
You know what? I really don't think it was really his fault. Mm-mm. I actually think this was writing. They told him
it was direction and writing because of that.
Yeah, I think he could play a serious role.
Yeah, because that scene where he's looking at it, he's like, one more diamond. That shows that there's hints that he could have potential right there.
Oh, and the fight scene with Bane and Batman Robin.
We'll get to that. But basically, the lead up to that is that Mr. Freeze ends up getting visited by Poison Ivy, and she ends up getting him out by having Bane end up the suits out, which is funny because there's actually a part when when he's getting his suits, you can see the suits of Two-Face and Riddler right there in the background. Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah, I remember that for homage.
Yeah, which I'm like, wait, Two-Face didn't. Oh no, they probably just captured his suit or something. Yeah, but anyway,
I don't know. They fucked up. He died in that one.
That's what I was saying.
Why would they hang it up as if he's a fucking criminal there? Yeah, they don't know what the fuck. They don't even. This movie can't even remember a movie that was made 2 fucking years ago. Continuity? Come on now.
It's like, he filmed that in that tank. I was like, how the fuck did they get that costume?
Yeah, they went in that watery acid.
Yeah. Where it would dissolve.
Technically, he landed in acid according to that last movie.
Yeah. But anyway,
acid. Yeah.
But anyway, they ended up, which is kind of funny because, now I'm just off topic. Since we're going back to Arkham Asylum, are we led to believe that Riddler's still there? Because wouldn't it be funny if they actually brought him in there like as a cameo? As a cameo?
Him and Arnold together? Damn, that probably would have been a good quickie right there.
But anyway, they end up breaking Mr. Freeze out, and they end up escaping and going back to the lair and stuff. And also, this is also the point where Batman and Robin are trying to figure out why they're doing all this. And basically, their ultimate plan is to work together, which is, here's what's stupid. You have Mr. Freeze wanting to create Gotham into like an icy world and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Poison Ivy, whose plan is to basically turn the whole Gotham into fucking plants and stuff. But I'm like, well, if it's all frozen, don't plants need sunlight?
Yeah.
How the fuck are they? Is that gonna work?
They got the two most villains that would not clash very well.
That's what I'm saying.
Theoretically, they couldn't.
Yeah.
Plants cannot be in Ice Age stuff. They all die. And they got a character. This couldn't be fucking two opposite. That's like me saying, you know, I'm going to make a guy Ice Cube and his partner is going to be Sunlight. What the fuck is going to happen with Ice Cube? It's going to melt. Yeah, these fuckers could not clash together. Yeah, so it didn't make, you know, I don't know if it was satire.
I don't
laughing for fun, or it was purposely like, oh fuck, they don't go together.
They don't. But
who wrote this?
While this is all happening, you also have Batgirl, who's trying. They like I said, we had this stuff going on with Alfred and stuff, and we see that he's dying.
Yeah.
And Batman, and all them, they decide to go after Robin ends up saying that because of the feud that happened with him and Batman, he decides to leave and go after Poison Ivy himself, and so he ends up going there, and he ends up like getting himself captured and stuff and all that, and Batman has to come save the day, of course, like he usually does, and they end up knowing that Batgirl actually shows up out of nowhere after, because Batman gets himself caught, and if you notice,
know why she turned Batgirl?
No, hold on, let me back up. We reverse all the way back to the lair part. They discover the lair, and this is the fight scene we get between Batman and Robin and Bane. And I gotta tell you, this fucking fight scene was so poorly handled. The part where Batman and Robin are trying to fucking fight down, man, which should be epic, because, you know, like in the comics, you're seeing Batman fighting Bane and stuff, but they fucking ruin it because we have all this, this gets
Instead of
thrown
making
around.
him tall and giant and then muscular, they just make him chubby muscular. It's like,
yeah, and not just that, but while this is happening, we're hearing one-liners from fucking Poison Ivy saying all these weird shit about, you know,
everybody's got one-liners.
Yeah, they're all about like plants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you also have literally, I guess this was a unintentional satire moment where she says every action figure comes incomplete with him, and then she pushes him to Bane and stuff. I'm like, oh, that's fucking cringy.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Nacho Libre ends up fighting Batman and Robin.
Yeah, and then they end up kicking his ass, like he ends up getting thrown around
This
and
is
stuff.
pretty much the shortest Bane fight of all time.
Until we see Dark Knight Rises, at least.
Until then.
But basically, that sucked. So we now, going into the climax, we see that Batgirl ends up coming to save the day after Batman and Robin are captured from Uma Thurman.
How did she become Robin again? And how did she find out?
Okay, so the lead up to that was she discovers because she knows that Alfred's dying. Alfred leaves her this thing to look for that his sister left, I think.
Yeah.
And basically, she's going through the files and stuff, and she discovers the stuff after putting in passwords and stuff like that to uncover who. Basically, she uncovers the Batcave, and then she ends up going into the Batcave, and somehow, conveniently, Alfred has apparently made her a fucking suit that didn't even tell her about it. So, did he already
bother telling her, hey, by the way, I got something made for you, and I'm going to need you to train like a superhero.
And all of a sudden, when she puts this suit on, I guess the suit has abilities to make her a badass. She's not only able to fight. Yeah, she's not only able to put the suit on and it matches perfectly, but she ends up fighting Poison Ivy and using martial arts skills. I'm like, the fuck?
Yeah.
But anyway,
I'm going to go ahead and put on my pair of Fruit of the Loom, and I'm probably going to fly. Come on now. See, this putting on shit and fucking becoming powerful shit's got to stop.
Well, technically speaking, she did have a moment earlier where she was kind of fighting with, because she kind of had this moment with Robin where he was like sneaking over, and she did kind of have that moment. But it's never really explained exactly.
Yeah, wasn't there a part where she tried to go on her own and look all badassy, and the guys tried to rape her? Or
and
beat her up?
She was in her street race.
Yeah,
she was going into the street race. She ends up having her car like crash, and then Robin ends up saving her.
Yeah,
which looking back on that footage, that fucking green screen really stuck out where she's like hanging
this
off.
This movie's got a lot of bad CGI.
Yeah, but anyway,
that does not hold up.
But anyway, we have climax takes place where they all end up working together and stuff, and they end up having they end up going to take down Mr. Freeze.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Freeze has taken over Gotham and the laboratory that we mentioned earlier in the film. This is where Bruce Wayne was working at.
Yeah.
And he was basically a telescope that could basically see everything in the world.
Yeah.
Mr. Freeze ends up taking control of this facility, and there is one funny part I like where he walks in and he's like, hi. He's like, oh, I'm sorry about the door. And I don't know, for some reason that line made me laugh.
Yeah.
And he's like, who is this nutball? And then he ends up freezing those two guys.
Yeah.
So that scene kind of made me laugh. Yeah. But anyway, this is the part where it made me fucking cringe, where we see Bane is putting down these bombs to make the building blow up. He's going, bomb, 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 bomb.
God, this motherfucker, they made him like a fucking retard.
Yeah.
I mean, he is legitimately stupid as shit. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is bad, man.
Yeah, but
you guys did him dirty.
But we also get we have the climax takes place where apparently now Batgirl has a different fucking outfit that she's going. Because no, I'm sorry. The lead up to this is that they go on their vehicles, which are there to sell toys. And I'll admit, when I was little, I wanted to have some of these toys from seeing the commercials.
Who wouldn't? Yeah.
But all of a sudden, Batman and all of them have all different outfits all of a sudden, which is never explained. I'm like, the fuck?
Yeah.
I mean, Batman Forever, his suits got destroyed except for one. But in this one, they just all of a sudden have random suits.
Yeah.
So they end up going to where the telescope thing is, and Batman and Mr. Freeze have their fight. At the same time, you also have Batgirl and Robin fighting Bane, and they get their ass handed to them. And then the only thing they had to do was to fucking hit the tube on his fucking thing to make him go smaller.
Small, yeah.
And he goes,
shrinks.
Yeah. And then I'll admit, from a visual standpoint, the way that it's kind of freezing stuff,
yeah,
it does, I think, kind of work. I mean, I actually do like the visuals for it, but from the freezing stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, it all ends where you pretty much have Batman defeating Mr. Freeze, and he ends up putting a cheesy fucking line where he's just like, "Hey, Freeze, the heat is on."
Yeah.
And then he ends up falling down. The telescope ends up getting stopped, and then they have this part where apparently Mr. Freeze has a way to cure Alfred's disease by giving him the dose that he was going to use for his wife.
Yeah.
And he ends up giving it to them, and then he ends up getting himself back into Arkham Asylum. They end up going back, and then Alfred's fine again all of a sudden.
Because Poison Ivy's in there too.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is the part where I was like, okay, if they made another one, this would be kind of a funny romp, or a funny kind of vibe. You have Mr. Freeze, or you have Poison Ivy in there, like, in Arkham Asylum, and then Mr. Freeze comes in as a cellmate. He's like, I'm your new cellmate. Welcome to hell. It's about winter has come at last. So, I mean, like, okay, you know what? That line made me laugh.
Yeah.
But anyway, it all ends where they pretty much end up working together, and they finally Batman, Robin, and Batgirl come together working as a trio.
They do that fucking where they run at the end. Signal, and they all three. Well, in the last one it was him and Robin.
Yeah.
And then this one, you see her kind of pull in as the third person.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's the end. And where the fuck do I begin? This film is
all
everything
right, here,
wrong
let me get
with Batman.
Let me just go out there. Aside from some lines from everybody, just a little bit.
Yeah.
I will say that Uma Thurman being sexy would fucking kept me in. Her look, that beautiful look she was, and she wore that outfit well. Arnold's look was good.
Yeah.
Some shots were decent with the ice getting everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell you that's pretty much it for me.
Okay,
maybe
I do agree on
that
aspect. Yes.
Yeah.
I will say, on a Bruce Wayne standpoint, George Clooney is a semi-decent Bruce Wayne. Batman, no.
He is the
terrible.
worst Batman.
He is.
He is by far the worst Batman. Alicia Silverstone, I like her as an actress.
But
this movie didn't need a Batwoman.
It didn't
need
Too
many fucking superheroes.
She sucked. Chris O'Donnell was the worst.
Chris O'Donnell act like he went from starstruck really good, and then he went and smoked 80 blunts, and then got him on here and like, what's my name again?
Yeah. And then you also have
his acting was bad.
The shitty one-liners that
George Clooney, for a guy like him, he did terrible.
He was, yeah. And also
Arnold did terrible.
And I'll also admit, like, as far as That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as like the moments with Bruce Wayne and Alfred, I kind of like, and I do like when it stays to some of the serious moments, I kind of like with the movie.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, 90% of the movie is all fucking campy and so like tonally bad to the point that all that stuff I kind of like, it's ruined by the following scenes.
Yeah. But
so there's so much. With that being said, this is a film that's been talked about to death with so many people, and I agree. It is in my opinion, the absolute worst
the worst
Batman
live
movie.
action.
Yes,
it's worst Batman film. Live actions, definitely, hands down.
And so with that, I'm giving this a flat line on the film. Okay, I'll be kind of nice. On an unintentional way, I'll give it kind of a
very, very low disaster.
Yeah, I'll give it that. Because it has the kind of unintentional vibe, I'll give it a low disaster.
Very low disaster. Very low,
because it's got some things to kind of have a rewatchability to it.
Yes, so I'm going to give it very low disaster.
Yeah, so it's not a complete flat line, but it's close.
All right, we're going to continue on another
we'll be back
on another part,
but
we
for
got
now,
too
we're
much
taking
here.
a break.
Yeah.
So check back in for part 2, and we'll be going for the basically the hiatus that we have for the DC.
Yeah.
So we'll see you guys here in the next part, and we'll see you later.